Last time on Silver Elite, our main character Ren, who looks just like Katniss, fled from her bedroom time with a soldier and randomly bumped into her bland love interest. They flirt-fought about it. Not Katniss is a mod who has mind-reading powers, but she doesn't really get to use them. Not Katniss lived in Ward Z, aka not District 12. She was hot, all the men wanted her. Out in the town, a kid was being attacked by an animal, so the main character used her superior marksman powers to kill the critter. Then she went back to her farm with her uncle, Jim. Uncle Jim was mad that she made that impossible shot for some reason. Apparently she was supposed to just let the kid die. She psychically chatted with a long-distance friend called Wolf, and Uncle Jim got arrested and taken away. It turned out he was an old and very successful rebel at one time. Ren went to the city to try to save Jim. She had no plan and didn't come up with one, so Jim's dead now. Ren did get a moment to show off her extra special powers, though. Ren was caught and detained, but they can't prove it was her who did the magic at the execution because Ren is the special and her blood doesn't turn silver when she uses her powers for some reason. She met back up with the hottie and he put her in the dumb military school that makes no sense. The main character made friends and bullies like this was a high school and not an elite military training school. Ren has two new ride or die friends called Liddy and Kane. And she found out that she can't be kicked out of this school, but ignored that information. Then nothing very important or interesting happened at the military school for several chapters. Finally, Ren briefly stole a motorcycle for no reason, but was of course immediately caught by the hot guy for some flirting time. And we're back with chapter 16. The real reason that we had all of that nonsense was that she'd have to go back to Cross Reddin's office and get scolded by his royal hotness again. She catches him as he's been working out, so he's shirtless. So we are subjected to a description of his sexy, sexy torso. We have an obsession in these books with the son of the evil king or the evil general or whatever. It's like if Snow had a hot son and he was in the Hunger Games with Katniss. We really are just super into that because that gives you free enemies to lovers because they're enemies because his dad is evil, but he doesn't actually have to do anything objectionable. Except for in Powerless, he was actually a Nazi, so like, he didn't need the help. He was already doing bad things. But here I'm pretty sure that it's going to be serving the purpose of making him her enemy without him actually having to ever do anything enemy-like, which I feel is cheating. The same thing with Xaden in Fourth Wing. His dad was like the evil general, and so Xaden was technically Violet's enemy, but he wasn't really her enemy. He never had to do anything enemy-like. Wow, this is a sentence. He nearly smiles. I know it because that dimple throbs just slightly.
No, don't like that.
He reads off like a list of things people are saying about her, and one of them is borderline uselessness. Borderline. So she's still a little bit useful at what we don't know. But anyway, I assume that's on her official paperwork if somebody wrote that. We already have him doing the chin tilt and the thumb to the lips thing. It feels very early for that. But we have to get all of these sexy tropes in ASAP. These authors also don't understand the power of delayed gratification when they're writing. They want to get all of the tropes in there immediately, as soon as possible, even if they don't suit the moment, even if they feel weird and out of place like this does. Like, why would the commanding officer be like this and tell her that her mouth is going to get her in trouble? Why are we doing this? Why is he getting all touchy with her face? You know, like, no. But these authors don't understand that making the readers wait for that stuff actually makes that stuff more potent, more powerful. Make us wait for it. You don't have to do a slow burn, but we need some. I wouldn't even call this insta-love or insta-lust. It's insta-tropes. Here's all the tropes that come along with the romance. All of them. Here you go. Whatever order I feel like. Forget whether the characters are ready to do these things. Just here's the tropes. It treats us like idiots as readers. These authors think that we're dumb. They think that we don't have any taste. We just come here for the tropes to be fed to us without any connective tissue, without any thought or care or love. You can do all of these tropes, but do them well. That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying never do any of these things. I'm saying do them skillfully. Books can be enjoyable and well-written, and I feel like sometimes that's something people don't believe anymore. He reminds her again that if she leaves here, she's going back to prison. So again, I'm wondering why she's still doing the I'm very bad at everything routine. So why doesn't she just start being good at things so she can stay here? I just don't, because he asked again, do you want to go back to prison? And she's like, no. So she clearly doesn't want to go there. And her plan continues to be, it's not that she's sucking it up because she just wants to suck it up because she hates it here. She's sucking it up because she thinks that that's going to get her out of here. But there's nowhere to go, sweetness, except prison. I already have why is it always the dumb bitches crossed off, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so he's like, stop being insubordinate, and then she's insubordinate, and then it says he ignores that. So if there's no reason to not be insubordinate, why does he even bother saying it? It's like a dad being like, if you keep doing that thing, I'm going to take away your phone privileges, and then the kid does the thing again, and the dad's like, oh, you've made me very cross this time, but I certainly won't do that thing I told you I was going to do. He decides that the best way for her to, like, get out of jail free is she has to get past him and out the door. And if she can do that, then nobody has to run laps again tonight. But it's just an excuse for them to flirt fight. This author decided that she saw Fourth Wing and its whole, like, this is enough or whatever with a period in between each word. And instead has fully put ellipses. One period is not enough. We need 3. It, ... is ... maddening.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
The flirt fight goes exactly how you think it will. She has the upper hand for a few seconds, but you know that the heroine can never win a fight against her super uber giant muscular love interest because he has to win every single fight. If he doesn't win every single fight, I don't know what happens. He's just suddenly no longer sexy. She can never ever beat him. That's like the super most important thing about all of these guys. And so, yeah, they have to run laps again because she almost like got free, but he easily overpowered her with his giantness and strongness. And oh my gosh, this chapter just keeps going. We're watching a very boring scene in the cafeteria, but we find out that they get a leisure pass, so probably get to watch them go around the town. Oh, she didn't get a pass. Our main character didn't get a pass. So very probably she'll end up having to stay here, which means the author won't have to describe anything, so that'll make her happy. And oh no, probably the hot guy just happens to also have to stay here. What could ensue? Of course, because she's training to be a soldier, she marches right up to her commanding officers and whines like a Karen about why she didn't get a pass. And rather than telling her to drop and give them 8,000 push-ups and shut her tiny little whiny face, instead they're, like, engaging with her about this? I guess I'm not here to tell you how to run your military, but I guess the main character decided she needed to have a full-on brat moment because she, like, grabs one of the commanding officer's food trays and throws it at the wall because she wants to go see Cross again. We couldn't have this all happen as one scene. It would be really helpful if we could consolidate some of these scenes. Like, we've had, like, 3 cafeteria scenes within 2 chapters. Let's combine some of these, huh? Let's have her not getting a day pass be part of the reason that the bully is picking on her. So she attacks the bully, so she has to go to Cross's office so she can have the conversation that she's going to have with him because the previous one didn't matter anyway. They just fought. I guess she's not going to see him right away because we cut to her in bed and she's talking to Wolf in her head. And again, I wonder why the heck is he here? Basically, Wolf is like an internet friend who she's never met, like somebody she met in a chat room and just like talks to, but he lives in Canada or something. Like, she's never actually met him, and they don't know details about each other's lives. Like, they know about each other's dreams, but they don't know where each other live. It's giving very much like early 2000s internet friendship. I feel like this animal was stolen from a video game. Please tell me if I'm correct. They're talking about animals and traps because she feels like she's in a trap. And they're talking about a horned bear, which is a mutation because of radiation. And I'm just picturing this, I don't know what game it's from, but maybe Fallout, one of the Fallout games. Is there a bear-like creature with like spikes coming out of him? Because that's what it sounds like it is. By the way, she has multiple nicknames, all from men. So this guy calls her Daisy. Her love interest calls her Dove, and then Kane calls her Cowgirl, which is the only one that feels like properly affectionate, like she might actually want that nickname. I don't know what men in this book just be giving this girl nicknames. Her girlfriends don't give her any nicknames. So she had a little hissy fit in the cafeteria, and it seems to not have mattered. So why did we need to watch her do that? She didn't get a day pass. She threw a toddler temper tantrum about it. and nothing happened. So she sneaks out of her room into the darkness, and that is the end of that chapter. And I'm going to stop now and go do some chores maybe, and then probably play video games. But I really need to start making progress on this book if I'm ever going to have another read-along out again. Yeah, numbers on my videos are not looking great, and I think it's just because people are waiting for another read-along. So hopefully this one is not too boring. I'll see you for the next chapter. Hello! If you hear any noises in the background, the ferrets are out. I usually don't like to film while they're out because it's kind of crazy in here, but I have limited time today, and I really want to get through this thing. I'm making good progress, but look how far I am, and I could not tell you what the plot of this book is. Anyway, chapter 17 of this plotless mess. A lot of these chapters start with her thinking about her past or reminiscing or having a flashback, because now she's thinking about her parents. I feel like the author did not know how to structure a chapter, and she's just I'll end it on a cliffhanger and then begin it with her reminiscing every time. But we find out her parents were the star-crossed lovers, very similar to Lightlark, where you've got, her mom was a mod. Such a stupid name for them. Her mom was a mutant, and her dad was a soldier. And they fell in love. So, I'm going to call them mutants instead of mods now because mods sounds so silly. Her Uncle Jim once told her that she was reckless, and it's is she, or is she just completely random? Being reckless doesn't mean you just fly off the handle and do weird shit for no reason, because she'll be cruising along at a steady level of boring, and then all of a sudden just throw a temper tantrum and yeet food at people. What was that? That wasn't reckless. So she's sneaking around the base, just thinking about how Uncle Jim taught her to be a ninja as well. So she wanders around until she finds the execution stage where good old Uncle Jimothy was mowed down. And it says, "Tears sting my eyelids." Usually we just say tears sting my eyes, not your eyelids specifically. By the way, everyone, it's Tandy. Tandy is here. Hello, Tandy. She's here to be annoying and pester Mum. Yes, you are. So she climbed up on the wall and looked at the town and felt sad about Uncle Jimothy. And who should find her there, sitting on the wall? Why, it's Xaden. Oh, oops, I mean Cross. And immediately she has to tell us how sexy he is. We cannot see this man without being reminded how sexy he is. And I'm tempted to give it physical feature mentioned every time. Now, I was thinking of this more for Blair with her pink hair, and we haven't got a character like that, but every single time she sees this guy, her first thought is how hot he is. So I think I'm going to give it to it. I mean, it's my bingo card. I can do what I want. These two, they're just sitting and talking on the wall and bantering back and forth, and they have no chemistry. I don't know how you achieve that with this formula that is so tried and true. Nothing. There's nothing. Even Violet and Xaden can muster up a smidgen of chemistry. Not a ton, but a smidgen, at least, of sexual chemistry. These two have nothing. It's two pieces of dry wheat bread sitting next to each other. Oh, apparently she has a need for vengeance that hasn't dimmed. Heavy quotations on all of that, because we have not been thinking about anything even approaching vengeance. Well, this guy's fun. So they're all talking about, Uncle Jim wasn't a bad person and you killed him, and mostly he's absolving himself and being I don't have anything to do with the executions and stuff like that, because again, we want him to be her enemy, but not really her enemy. But he also has a really dark worldview, which I'm sure makes all of the girlies' hearts thrum, because we don't want any joy in our men for some reason. Men are not allowed to feel joy. We don't want men feeling joy. He's talking about humanity. He says, "We will always find a way to destroy ourselves. We are a doomed species." What a ray of sunshine. There's a reason that I love the grumpy sunshine trope, but the grumpy cannot be so grumpy. And she's not a sunshine, so there's no grumpy sunshine here. It's just two grumpies. I wonder if this is going to be the accidental message of the book. He says, "Sometimes you just have to accept your fate, Dove. Trying to fight against it will only lead to headaches." Is she gonna learn that she should excel in this military instead of being a rebel? That she should, because he's you should take advantage of this. You're being offered this elite position and you're throwing it away. I don't know. I mean, maybe she's still gonna rebel. I could be completely wrong, but also part of me wonders if that's gonna be the message. I gotta pick up my feet because there are ferrets trying to bite him. Come here, you. This one. This little sharky shark is trying to bite my feet, and I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate it. Sharky shark. Go play with your sisters. Why you gotta be a shark? So he leaves her alone on the wall, and she's thinking about accepting lots of things, accepted that her mind is a weapon, and if people knew even half of what I do, they would put a bullet in my brain. I've accepted that I'm never going to trust anyone enough to show them who I am. Who are you, though? Like, we the reader should know. But she's nobody. She's a blank slate. She's a carbon copy of all of these identical girlies, but it's not even a carbon copy. She is a copy of a copy of a copy. We've talked about this before, how when you make a copy of something, and then you copy it again and again and again, the old-fashioned way with a copy machine, the quality just downgrades and downgrades and downgrades until it is just like it's sort of indistinguishable inky blur. And that's what she is. She's a copy of a copy of a copy of this archetype of girl. And so when she says, no one will know who I am, there's no one to know. Her actions are not the actions of a complete character, a whole person, somebody with a personality, wants, needs, rounded character. She just does things because the author thinks that it would be interesting for the plot, and because the author is following this same formula, this same romantasy formula. I know it's not fantasy, but it's following the same formula. Romance-topia? Dissomance? I don't know. That's the end of that chapter. Wow, again, nothing is moving. We just sat on a wall and talked, and it was very boring, and everything that you expect it to be. So yeah, see you for the next chapter. And we're back for more. I was just looking at my bingo card, and I'm going to give this one no world building in sight. We are still not really super close to any bingos, but we're getting there. We're making progress. We can't have confusing fight scenes yet because there's no fight scenes. Like, the closest we came was her breaking a girl's nose in the cafeteria, and that was very short. So when we tuned into the wrestling match, it was already, like, over. She was already losing the wrestling match. So she's alone because everybody else went to Hogsmeade without her, and she's sitting around thinking about how, like, her old life is slipping away, and her friend, you remember her random friend from back home, unimportant friend, has not been reaching out to her as much. And I'm like, I'm sorry. If I had the psychic ability to contact my friend whenever I wanted, even if they were far away, you can bloody bet that they would be getting contacted semi-often because, like, I love my friends. And, like, even when it was hard, I still tried to stay in communication with them. Maybe not as much as I should, but I did. I would not immediately abandon them the moment that, like, it got slightly difficult to talk to them, like I couldn't see them face to face, especially if we could just communicate with our brains. But we're not going to do it because that character didn't matter, and she really didn't honestly need to exist. We're getting, again, a little bit of the sort of accidental theming of, like, the surveillance state and information being very, very restricted. Like, she's basically going on their version of the internet, and she's searching up her uncle and stuff like that. And, of course, the information is restricted. She's not allowed to see it. And, like, I don't think this author is clever enough or skilled enough to do anything with that. She's just kind of using it as the set dressing for the world without ever exploring these themes. And then we just smash cut to the next morning. Yeah, we smash cut to the next morning. There's not even a time jump. It's just next paragraph, it is the next morning. So we watch her lay around on her bed and look through a search engine and find out that she can't get the information she wants. And her friends are ghosting her. What a great scene. Unless the friends ghosting her is actually going to be an important plot point later.
Get used to disappointment.
But, like, I have no faith in this author's ability to do that kind of thing. But hey, I'm willing to be surprised. Maybe they'll still surprise me. But then she, for some reason, she wanders past two people doing it in the shower, and then she goes to chow. Like, what? Okay. So now they're going to go do a drill, and everybody gets a code name, and hers is Broken Dove. So now they're just learning about technology. We got code names just so they could sit around and have a class on technology. Presumably they'll be using this technology in the upcoming drills that I would love to see. All right, so they get their tech, which is a magical spy earpiece that does everything from, monitoring your biometric data to being like perfect communication device to a body cam. It does everything, and it's like a little like chip that you stick on your face or something. But yeah, so they do that, and then we smash cut to presumably actually doing the drills, hopefully. Oh, there's a maze. They get to run around in a maze. So she's still looking at this and she's like, I'm gonna fail on purpose. Like, why? Girl, why? That plan is clearly not gonna work. Come up with a new plan. Dude has told you multiple times that if you fail out of the program, you're just going back to prison. She's like, I'm paired with Kess. Kess of all people. And I'm like, who is Kess? I don't remember. Is Kess the one you punch in the face? I can't remember it because there's too many characters and none of them matter. I can remember the name of her two friends, Liddy and Kane. And that's it. Okay, Kess is the one that she punched in the face. Cool. The book conveniently mentioned bruising on her face, so... Apparently, they have the ability to have, like, full-on holodecks, because one of the guys is like, I don't understand why we're not doing these ops as Sims. And they're like, because they're going to be running through, like, an actual warehouse maze, essentially, and they're like, yeah, but it's better to do things for real. And I'm like, wait a minute, how much technology do we have? How, like, Star Trek level of technology are we looking at here? So the goal of this practice op is there's a warehouse and there's like a target inside, and one team is coming in through the roof and the other team is coming in on the ground floor, and one of them has to get to the goal flag, whatever, first, and then go out the way that the other team came in. So she mentions that there's dust on the floor, like a lot of dust on the floor in this like maze inside this warehouse. And I'm like, that offers a slightly unfair advantage for anybody who comes after, because they can follow your footprints. I mean, and see where you've like doubled back on yourself because you went the wrong way. And eventually the track to the goal is going to have like the most footprints in the dust. So whatever team goes last, and especially the one who's infiltrating on the ground floor, is going to have an advantage if you think about it. So basically the things that they encounter in this maze are laser alarms, you know, like a spy movie, and random guards patrolling. And so there's just a lot of crawling under lasers and dodging guards. Their entire base is so ridiculously kitted out with surveillance. Does the enemy not have access to any of that? Like, would they not be infiltrating a base that was also absolutely swimming in surveillance? Shouldn't they practice looking for cameras or motion detectors or hidden alarms? But no, it's lasers, very obvious visible lasers, and very obvious physical guards. Also, they've gotten to the target, and the guys who came in through the roof got there first. So, and they're gone. And our girls have to go out through the roof. So all they have to do is look for the tracks in the dust and backtrack those up to the roof. By the way, that's my plan. They're not actually doing that. That's just what I would be doing, since we've mentioned multiple times how dusty it is and how dusty the floor is. But our main character remembers that she's supposed to suck, so she runs straight into an alarm, pretending that she's just a silly little idiot, and of course they are eliminated. But apparently for this pretend mission, they were fully kitted out, not only with fake guns, but also real knives. Like, a whole bunch of real knives. And so our main character hides a dagger away. So am I going to give this bows and daggers? I mean, how is she going to sexily press a dagger to her enemy's throat if she doesn't have a dagger? We got to get her a dagger somehow. And so we'll have this really short, boring training session as an excuse to get her a dagger. At least one person has noticed that our main character seems to be just like invincible, can be punished, but is never being cut for whatever reason. And of course, our main character has to be like, I don't know, it's mystery, I just suck. But of course, because she's talking to another girl, she has to get a jab in there at this girl, because our main character can never just be a decent person. And that's the end of the chapter. What a scintillating chapter. At least the characters were up and moving and doing something for at least some of this chapter. I wish it was more, but yeah. It still managed to be boring. Even a sort of action-ish scene managed to be boring, so. Great, I can't wait to read more. I mean, we are visibly almost like halfway through, and there's still nothing. Yeah, I see why I haven't seen as many people talking about this book. It's because there's nothing to talk about. I hope you guys aren't too bored. I try to just give you the highlights and not go too deep with talking about every little thing, because that could get pretty boring. But maybe a plot will appear eventually. You'll just have to keep going and find out. Hello, welcome to a dreary day. I look very washed out today. It's just because the lighting in here is suboptimal. Who cares, really, because you're just listening to this in your pocket, let's be real. Which is fine, I actually prefer it. Jimmy, don't even look, you know? Let's go. Chapter 19, I'm here making more bad choices because I am filming again while the ferrets are out. So, yeah, chapter 19. I just really want to get through this book. Really do. Hello, Moraine. I already picked up my feet so you cannot bite them. wonder if the author's going to do anything with this. So the main character mentions that they keep having shield in class, and then it feels really invasive to have like somebody else try to invade her mind. And I'm curious if this is setting up for the main character to have some kind of revelation about her trying to read other people's minds, because she has done it. And it just conveniently their shields were always too strong, or she didn't really want to press. So, and she didn't feel bad about that. She just was like, oops, I can't do it right now. Their shield's too strong. So are we setting up for her to be like, hey, maybe my powers are a little bit invasive. Hey, like maybe I don't want to use some parts of my powers, which she doesn't already. Like she really doesn't reach for mind reading very often, because that would make things too easy. Why did we give her mind reading powers to begin with, honestly? I'm guessing no, that's not where we're going. But it'd be nice if she could have a little bit of a moment where she's like, you know what? I kind of understand why some people might be hesitant to hang out with somebody like me if I could just invade their mind whenever I wanted, you know? I don't know if she's ever going to come to that conclusion, though. Because that would mean that she was not, like, the most put upon, the one doing the most suffering, if she realized that, like, maybe there was a reason that people might not want to hang around her. Our main character is struggling in her classwork, like her sit-down classwork. And she says that that's partly because she's trying to fail and partly because she actually just sucks at in a classroom setting. But of course she has to toot her own horn first. So I'm an intelligent person, observant, strategic. I've got an excellent memory. I can take one look at the north pasture at my ranch and tell if one blade of grass is out of place. But force me to memorize codes and coordinates and military jargon, and it all bleeds together into a boring jumble. So like, she can't just say, yeah, I struggle with classwork. She got to be like, listen, I am really smart, like hyper intelligent. I'm so smart and my memory is so good that I can tell if a blade of grass is out of place. But I'm just bad in the classroom, man. I just can't remember all of those words and stuff. These authors are so afraid of their character ever being anything but absolutely the coolest. They like to give them flaws that aren't really flaws, and then make sure that you know that outside of those quote-unquote flaws, the characters are just the best at everything. Like, we don't ever want characters who aren't good at everything, and that just depresses me. I'm curious if, I'm sure the author hasn't thought about it, but like, the mutants are subjugated and hunted, and they have an underground resistance that apparently can hack into just about anything, but you get the idea that the resistance is not very powerful. Yet, this country, the continent, has a really powerful military, apparently. Like, they have this elite squad that our main character is training to be on, so presumably they have a regular military. And she was just thinking about how her squad is, like, specially meant to hunt down mutants. And I'm like, how much work do they actually have? Like, is there any other conflict going on in this world that the military could potentially be used for? Or is the military strictly for hunting down mutants? I imagine that's what it's for, because this author hasn't thought any deeper about the world, but it feels to me like they wouldn't need so much military at this point, because the mutants seem to be driven pretty far underground and don't seem to be having a lot of like success in their rebellious endeavors. So I just don't think we need all of this military for nothing else. Remember that there's a wider world in your story beyond what your main character is going through. They mention trade ships, but who are we trading with? Who are the continent's allies and who are their enemies? Also, somebody figured out like obviously I'm pretty sure that the continent is like North America, because just like Hunger Games, this is set in a future like United States type scenario. And like Divergent, we love doing that. So they're sitting around talking about Tierra Fey and how racist those people are against our people from the continent. But then somebody shows up, one of the other people shows up, and he's doing a stimulant, so drugs. We take a brief pause to wonder where he got it from, and then we just like keep talking about Tierra Fey, and I'm like, what are we doing? Oh look, it's Chachai. Here to bite me. Do not bite me, Chachai. Do not. I do not appreciate the biting. I do not appreciate the biting. Also, if you're wondering if this author has continued just using the most words possible to get across simple ideas, yes.
I'm startled when Ro joins our conversation. He settles in another table, long legs stretched out in front of him. Then he lifts a slender metal tube to his nose and snorts, and I realize he's doing a stim. I wonder how he managed to sneak recreational drugs onto the base. Stimulants aren't illegal, but they're wildly expensive. And I doubt the command is allowed to use them during active duty. Doesn't seem like the general would be super keen on having his soldiers high on missions. Kane's voice joins my thoughts. How the hell did you get stims into the base? He demands, grinning. So, like, all of that could have been covered by Kane being like, how the hell did you get stims into the base? From, I realize he's doing a stim. How the hell did you get stims into the base? Because a character asking about it in that way, sort of incredulous and impressed, basically implies all of the things that the main character went out of her way to say. That whole paragraph, pretty well encompassed by this guy having this reaction. Especially if this is not a key and important plot point later, which I very much doubt it will be. You never know, but I doubt it. That line of dialogue could cover it. Now, I spend a weird amount of time as a developmental editor actually encouraging people to add more. I have noticed that a trend right now with a lot of writers who are maybe starting out is I'm seeing a lot of underwriters lately. And I find myself going, hey, I would love it if you'd add more versus telling people to take things back. But this author clearly went to the old school because when I was starting out, everybody was writing too much. So many words for everything. And this author went to that school because like every single thing from the tiniest motion is drawn out into like 2 or 3 sentences, if not more. That's why this book is so long. Aside from the meandering nature of it, where we don't know what we're doing here, the author's just writing scenes. It's like she's writing fan fiction, and like really boring fan fiction of these characters just going about their days. She's just writing scenes and stitching them together. And I see why people would accuse this of being AI written for that reason. I don't think it is. I think this is old-fashioned, homegrown bad writing from a human. Not all bad writing can be attributed to AI, because people are also bad at it, too. Especially when they're starting out. Possibly with a really good and firm developmental editor who can really show her how to clean up her writing and show her how to focus on her plot and help her figure out what scenes are necessary, what scenes are unnecessary, teach her to be vicious with her own editing process. This author and even this book could have been okay, but nobody did that for her. And I'm not just saying this because I am a developmental editor. Like, please get a developmental editor, even if you don't use me. I'm not saying use me, but find somebody who's going to be thorough and firm and show you how to improve your story. Because improving your story will improve your writing going forward. Not only does critique help the story that you are currently working on, but it teaches you things to bring forward into your next stories so that as you go, you will get better and you will need less editing. Never none, but less. So now they're talking about whether it was necessary to do the genocide against the mutants. And I'm like, this is so tired and it's been told a million times. And I'm like, could we do something a little bit different from it? And it made me think about Dragon Age because, as we all know, I am a BioWare fangirl, all right? In Dragon Age, when mages potentially become too dangerous, they are made tranquil. So this procedure is done to them that cuts them off from their magic, but also from their emotions. So they don't necessarily need to be killed, but something equally sort of horrifying happens to them. And then there's a whole plot point throughout the games about curing tranquility. And like the games, unfortunately, like the storytelling kind of dropped that thread, which sucks. But like something like that could be so much more interesting than just a bunch of people got superpowers because of a toxin, and then we did a genocide to purge those superpowered people. We could do so much more with it. Like, why aren't they looking for a cure?
This cure is voluntary. Nobody's talking about extermination.
No one ever talks about it. They just do it.
Other things that we could be looking at here instead of just the most boring possible, done a million times plot line. But basically our main character just comes away feeling sorry for herself because, oh, everybody hates mutants like her. So she thought for a minute about how unpleasant it is to have your mind invaded. But then she's also like, but look at these people staring with such hatred at the idea of us mutants. And it's like, well, if you think about it a little bit, they might be uncomfortable with having their minds invaded. Our main character's never social. She says they're going to go watch a movie and she's not feeling social tonight. And I'm like, when are you feeling social? Because you skipped the last movie as well. She also just keeps that knife that she stole in her locker, where anybody in command could just come by and do a locker search and find that she has a contraband knife. Also, apparently they don't inventory their stuff after operations practice.
Also, this knife, if you'll pardon the pun, is so pointless because, like, she uses it, like, a couple more times, usually to threaten someone sexy with it, but, like, ultimately, she spends more time going, oh no, I don't have my knife, I left it back in my bunk, than she does going, aha, I have a knife, let me use it. And by the end of the book, the knife is completely forgotten about, so like the only reason that this was in here was so that she could have a couple of moments where she could sexily hold a knife to somebody's throat, and that's it. Great.
She manages to contact her friend for a minute, just a very, very brief conversation, not even quite a whole page. I think just to remind us that her friend is there, but weren't we just saying that her friend hasn't been contacting her? But now we had her friend contact her, just to be like, yep, we're still being heavily surveilled. Life sucks. Life still suck for you? Cool. So then a creepy guy wanders up. They're all creepy. And he starts to, like, hit on her for no good reason. This is every creepy attempted SA scene ever. But of course, she turns the tables because she's got a dagger hidden in that locker. So now she's winning. But girls, ladies, women, we cannot defend ourselves for very long because we actually need a big, strong man to come defend us. So she's doing fine. She's winning against this guy who decided to be creepy and predatory for no reason. She's winning, and who should come sauntering up but Cross, of course. Because these girlies, they can fight back. But if they are anywhere near their ginormous, sexy boyfriend, he has to do the actual saving. Am I going to give this badass hero constant damsel? Because, like, we're approaching that already. Let's give it one more scene of this nonsense. Cross is like, BTW, give me that knife back. And she does. Oh, he gave the knife back to her. Ooh, even more pointless. And he also mentions that tomorrow is pit night.
I finna be in the pit.
So I hope that's interesting because nothing else is. Let's see, how am I doing for time? I could probably fit in the next chapter. It's pretty short. Hi, Candy. Hi, Candy. All right. See you then. All right. Chapter 20. Chapter 20. We are so close to being like halfway through this book, and I still don't know what the plot is. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again. But it's pit night, and this is a pretty short chapter, so pit night is not going to matter, or this is just going to be all lead up. This makes me think of The Pit, which is a new Doctor TV show that I'm very much enjoying, and pretending is a sequel to ER.
Welcome to the pit. Let's go save some lives.
You didn't need to know that, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Character says, I'm still not entirely sure what I'm in store for, and I'm like, same girl, have we talked about what pit night means ever? So apparently for pit night, all the girls like to dress skimpy, so they're putting on their tiny skirts and short skirts, tight denim, tiny tops. So the main character's feeling all self-conscious because unlike the other girls, she doesn't have the skimpy clothing. But this basically just serves for that cute girl moment where her friends are like, you don't have the trendy clothes. Don't worry. Come, girls, let us dress our poor friend. Oh, we gotta know that our main character has a big old chest, though, because the girl that she's gonna borrow clothes from is like, yeah, we're roughly the same size, except the chest, and the girl, of course, is the one with the flat chest, because our main character's gotta have big old boobies. Nobody ever talks about how big old boobies are kind of a pain in, like, situations, like, that could arise in the military, like, for example, having to jog all night. I don't have big old boobies, but I have friends who do. And those friends have told me that they are annoying if you want to do something like go for a jog. And our main character has never mentioned, like, wearing a sports bra or anything. She's always just fully just either in her uniform or her pajamas, which are a tank top and pajama bottoms. Authors never think about these practical things when they give their characters a giant chest. I bet you that she's got like perfectly flat abs though. Like all of these girlies definitely have big chest, big hips, but like no stomach. So she goes to put on one of the shirts this girl offered her and it's not fitting over her chest. And so the girl is like, take your bra off. That will make it fit better. So like release the chest to make the shirt that's already tight across the chest fit better? Non-members of the Itty Bitty Titty Committee, please inform me if this would actually work. Because it feels like it would not, in fact. So the girls are now going to put on some makeup, and she jogs to keep up with them. But now that I know she's big-chested and is not wearing a bra, I'm just imagining the bouncing. I don't know if that's intentional, but like I can't unsee it now. Thanks, book. So they go put on makeup for whatever the pit is, and then we smash cut to the pit. It seems like the pit is just like a warehouse where they all go to hang out. Again, this feels like it's giving teenagers, like excited to go to like this underground club that's in a warehouse, and ooh, it's so subversive, and it's just a club. Very juvenile feeling. But I guess as well as being a club, there is also Fight Club. In this club, there is Fight Club, because there's two dudes with their shirts off fighting in the middle. So she mentions that she has her knife, and I'm wondering where she put it, because she's wearing skin-tight jeans and a skimpy little top. Perhaps she just has dagger-filled pants. Okay. My question is answered. It is in her boot. So, hey, at least we don't have to wonder if she has dagger-filled pants. Thank God. We have our token gays. There's two guys who are sitting with each other and are clearly a couple. That's it. It's just like, hey, look, two guys that we don't know. So, of course, Cross is there. Every time I have to say his name, I throw up a little bit in my mouth. Cross is there, and he's staring, like, right at her. He seems like the kind of guy who wouldn't be at this kind of place, but I guess he's got to be here to ogle our main character. Meanwhile, in the fighting arena, two girls are stepping up now because women have to fight each other in this unsanctioned fight club arena. Women can't fight men. Don't be stupid. And of course, Cross has a woman with him and she is all over him. We have to have that. That's probably the whole reason that this scene exists. Just so Cross can have another woman who's like very into him, but he only has eyes for our main character. So Kane comes over just to reassure us that our main character is attractive to everyone, not just one guy. And then he goes away. And then the creepy guy from before comes over to also hit on her. All right, and then that happens. Doesn't matter. And we now have Cross jumping into the Fight Club ring with someone else. I don't know, Xavier, whoever that is. So cool. So glad that this is happening. What is the plot? I wish this whole bingo card should just be covered in no plot in sight. Can someone please, like, get a team together to find the plot of this book? We need our best minds. We need scientists. We need archaeologists, the army, the military. Let's get them in here to find this plot. Private detectives. Everyone. All right, see you for the next chapter when I see ya. Hello, we are back again for another chapter of this. My favorite game, trying to figure out what the plot is going to be. I don't think we're going to find the plot in this chapter, because this is just going to be about how sexy Cross looks. It's like 4 pages. How sexy Cross looks while he fights this other guy. He will not lose, and he will, at best, have a moment where he seems to be struggling. Of course, they're shirtless, and of course she's like, I can't tear my eyes off him. He's ruthless, unforgiving, each blow is precise, delivered with the damage he intends. I have a feeling I won't have much to say about this chapter, because it's just exactly what you expect. She is getting incredibly turned on by this, though. Like, not only does he look really good, but he's doing violence, and apparently that's a turn on.
Discombobulate.
I mean, we have two shirtless men straddling each other at this point, but still somehow it's heterosexual. So the actual fight itself is incredibly short. I don't think this author is very interested in writing action scenes, and I don't know if they just don't have the skill or if it's just not something they like, but the fight is very much like glossed over the actual beats of the fight, and it's over in a page. So of course she bumps into Cross, and they have the most bland
flirty conversation. It's not worth sharing anything about it with you. It's exactly what you expect over and over again. For reasons that we don't get explained, the main character decides she's going to go back to the barracks, and she's going by herself even though her friends offer to go with her, because I think she probably needs to get jumped by that guy who was being creepy. That would be my theory. Apparently, no, I was wrong. She gets jumped by Cross, but like in a sexy way. He like pushes her up against a wall. Apparently, her watching him fight is a turn on as well. I don't know. Maybe he smelled her horniness pheromones. Either way, he's being all like, pushing her up against a pillar and like, holding her there with one arm above her because he's so ridiculously tall. And you know the thing. If this was not the guy that she liked, this would be unbelievably creepy, by the way. Like, reading this as somebody who does not ship them, this is insanely creepy. But she's into it, of course, so it's fine. He smells like pine as well. Clearly, this author could not come up with a different smell, so she just stole the one from Powerless. No, is it Powerless? Yeah, he smells like pine in Powerless. Zayden smells like mint, I think. These boys all have like one smell. It used to be sandalwood, but sandalwood is out. Now it's pine. So yeah, obviously they don't do anything yet. It's just supposed to be a romantically tense scene, or a sexily tense scene. There's no romance involved in any of this. So, and then she's like, I'm really, really tempted to go to bed with you, but I'm not gonna. Bye. And that's how it ends. So what a pointless chapter. So glad we had to read it. I hope the next chapter is kind of long, so maybe something will actually happen. I keep hoping. We keep reading and hoping. I'll see you then. Hello, welcome back to Heatwave numero dos for Wisconsin. It is stupidly hot, so that's why I'm all sweaty. I mean, glisteny. I don't sweat, I glisten. We're gonna go with that. Anyway, I need to look at the bingo card because it's been a while since we visited the bingo card, so I think we can get some more things. I think I'm gonna give this identical female main character right off the bat here. The blurb lied. I like to give it until the end before I say the blurb lied. Not like other girls. We haven't seen quite as aggressive of the not like other girls. I mean, it's still definitely there. She's definitely the special. Like, she's the most powerful psychic, but she also doesn't look down on other women quite as much as these heroines tend to do. So I'm leaving that one alone. I'm going to give this tropes used poorly, though, because, like, this book is nothing but tropes, and they're just present. That's it. We haven't gotten a sex scene yet. Confusing world building. Oh, yeah, oh my goodness, I'm crossing so many of these off. But we're pretty far in the book now, so I think it's time. Confusing world building. Never felt romantic love before. I bet you that's coming. Brutal games, a few people die. Nope. Injuries don't matter. Yeah, because she's been injured and it has not mattered. I think we will eventually get POC disabled or queer characters get shat on because, like, they are so, like, token and shoved aside. She had her black friend back home we've already forgotten about. Are we going to have Adira, is that what her name was, from Powerless? Are we going to have that situation where she shows up back at the end just so she can die so the white character can have motivation? I hope not. I'm also going to give this bows or daggers because, like, she had to get a dagger at some point and she's got one now. Because she's gotta have a dagger. I mean, I'm giving this nothing is described because other than people, occasionally, nothing is described. Flirt fighting, definitely giving it flirt fighting. Oh, we're getting so many of these. I can't give it confusing fight scenes because, like, the fight scenes are nothing. There's barely anything. Confusing magic or powers. I'm gonna save that one just in case something gets explained by the end. But, like, I'm still waiting to find out why being a psychic makes her an amazing shot. And, like, her being an amazing shot is enough for them to be suspicious of her.
Get used to disappointment.
I'm going to give it, obviously, one-sided love triangle because she's got that guy who keeps hanging around her, Rafe, I think was his name. I can't remember already. Who's into her, but she's, like, definitely not into him. So it's just, like, trying to be a love triangle that's not even trying. Main character behaving badly with no fallout. Yep, that's all over the place. Main character is definitely the special, but I'm going to save that for the end just to find out how much the special she is. I didn't give her terrible plans. I thought I gave her terrible plans. We're getting terrible plans because her plan is the worst. And for the scene that we just had, where he, like, came up on her in the dark and, like, pinned her against a wall with the arm above her head, I'm giving that one abusive/creepy equals sexy. Because if that had been anyone except him, that would have been an incredibly creepy scene. All right, so we've got a lot of... Do we have any bingos yet? Any bingos? I don't think we quite do because I'm using the mega board.
but we're very close in several places. We're like 1 or 2 away in several places. Let's get on to this chapter. It's going to be a long one. I brought my emotional support ice cream. Let's do this. Let's suffer together, friends. It's time for more drills, and this time they're flying out into an abandoned district of the city, apparently. One thing that I thought about, she's a rebel, right? She's like part of the resistance, but it made it sound like she was going to be cleverly trying to infiltrate them from the inside, when all she's doing is just trying to leave. She has not seen this as an opportunity, especially with her psychic abilities, to report in on what goes on at this training program. She could totally every night be reporting in about like how they train their elite soldiers. Stupidly, but she could still be reporting in. She could be looking for ways to sabotage their training program. She could be doing rebel shit that would give her some reason to be in this book, that would give this book a reason to exist. But she's not. She's like completely like, well, the rebellion didn't want to rescue me, so I'm not going to try and do anything. So you can tell that her convictions ran as deep as, these guys are my friends, and as long as they do things for me, I will do things for them. But her actual conviction is not, my people are suffering and I have to help them. It's like, fuck you guys for not rescuing me, so I'm not going to do anything helpful. And that is not an engaging main character. Got another Fourth Wing moment. They're supposed to climb one building and jump onto another building without safety gear, which definitely sounds like a way to get, useful soldiers killed. So she's put on a team, but Liddy is on this team, and also she's like, I don't know how I would fail this mission, except like falling off of a building to my death. And I'm like, you could refuse to climb. That'd be a pretty good way to fail the mission. Just pretend you're afraid of heights and refuse. That would make her look cowardly. She won't do that. Fun fact, though. A little known fact about me. I used to do a little bit of urban exploring way back in the day when I was young and spry. And I have climbed a drain pipe onto a building. It was really cool. Honestly, it was pretty cool. They have a red shirt on their team, a guy named Jones, who we've never heard of before, so he might die. So I think one issue I have with this training program as well is that it is mixing its recruits. So this is supposed to be churning out elite soldiers. But it seems to be churning out different types of elite soldiers with the exact same program. Liddy, her friend, is very, very book smart. And so presumably, if she went on to be one of these elite soldiers, she would be like a man in the chair. She'd be doing all of the sneaky espionage stuff from the safety of a base. Whereas, like, our main character would be out there running around and doing physical things. But they're both getting the exact same training. So it feels like it's a really good way to fail somebody who would be really good at one side of this and a useful soldier. So she looks out over the city from the top of this building, and she thinks about the people living there and how in this society they have universal basic income. And she's like, maybe this isn't so bad. And I'm like, yeah, it actually sounds great. She says that there's like 2 types of credits that you can have. One is just for basic living necessities, so UBI. And then if you want more, for like shiny stuff, you can go out and get a job and get the shiny stuff. And it's like, dude.
So a lot of people have speculated about the author's politics based on this book. And while I'm not maybe as good at noticing political stuff as some people, this feels fairly obvious to me when the bad guys, the evil dictatorship, has the universal basic income, which is something that I personally, I don't know if you know this, but I'm extremely on the left in the United States. I personally would love universal basic income, but this book seems to be implying that, yeah, you can have that, but only if you have fascism. And I can tell you right now, where we are in the United States, we don't have that, and we do have fascism. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm just like, I feel like this is telling of the author's politics, where she thinks that, like, what would come along with an evil fascist regime is universal basic income. The vibe that I get is that perhaps this author is against UBI because it belongs to the evil people. Now, I will say that she could just be stupid. Sometimes we writers, we do stupid things and put things in our books that we don't mean, and not every single thing in the book reflects the author's views. However, a lot of times authors will tell on themselves with the things that they put into like the world and the infrastructure of their books.
The main character gives Liddy a pep talk, so Liddy's gonna try it. So they all make it. They all succeed, even the red shirt apparently. I don't think this is supposed to be a gay moment, but any port in a storm. Liddy is like, thanks for helping me and talking me through it, and she like links her arm with the main character's and puts her head on the main character's shoulder, and I'm like, oh, I ship it now a little bit. if she was actually doing things to try to sabotage or get information out, she would have a reason to feel guilty here. Because she's like, oh, I realize that I'm making friends here. I care about some of these people. And she feels bad about it, but ultimately it doesn't matter because she's like stuck here and not trying to do anything. But if she was trying to sabotage this training, or if she was trying to get information about this training to the rebels that might eventually hurt these people, that would give her something to feel bad about. But she's just hiding her psychic powers, and because she would feel bad about that, I guess. So somebody eventually does fall. They're just watching people jump, and somebody falls. That person's name is Glyn Cotter. Holy Hunger Games naming Batman. We are so inconsistent with our names in this book. Mention of the gods. They worship gods. He lands and gets speared, and it says, his body grotesquely bowed over the post like a sick offering to the gods. Who the fuck are the gods? I did not think we had any kind of religion going on in this world whatsoever. And now we find out there are multiple gods. I hate it when books are lazy about religion. I hate it so, so much. Like, don't be lazy about religion. It's a huge world-building tool. So this man falls 5 stories onto spikes, and he is impaled. But he is still alive, so he's thrashing and screaming. Our heroes run over there to help him out, and then they are there for a significant amount of time. And then the commanders run over. It says, Struck and Ford move with urgency. They can't be moving with that much urgency if it took them that long to get here. I expected them to mosey over and be like, well, sucks to suck.
Hard luck, Dave. Always knew you were a bit weak.
Good to know, though, that they have, like, no paramedics or anything to call. They're just like, let's have a look at your impalement. 5 stories at impaled, and he's still conscious. So he dies, obviously, but Roe, the guy who likes to harass her, is glaring at the main character like he thinks that she made Glyn jump and fall. You know, part of me thinks that the reason that this character has no agency and that she doesn't want to be here, but she doesn't have a plan to use the fact that she's here is because this is a photocopy of a photocopy of Fourth Wing. And in that, Violet didn't want to go to Dragon Training School, but when she got there, she just was forced to thrive. This is not the same scenario, but the author is treating it like it is, because I don't think she ever really learned how to write her own story. She's not making any of these things her own. She's just like, these are the things that stories have, so I will put them in there. She's not a storyteller, is what I'm saying. A storyteller knows how to use the parts of the story that they enjoy to create something that is theirs. And this is not that. This is, like I said, a photocopy of a couple different books. So Ren goes up to the roof with her friend Batima, who was very saddened by the death of that one guy who died today, to smoke a joint and just, you know, feel sad and talk about their lives and have they seen people die, blah, 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 blah. But then some bullies come up. Ro, that one guy from before, and one of his toadies come up onto the roof and are hassling the girls.
Help. Police. Murder.
Although the main character said that she'd never been up to the roof, which is apparently a place that a lot of people go. And I'm like, really? You are so incurious about your surroundings that you never even figured out you could go up on the roof? For some reason, Ro has decided that he's going to have like a confession moment. He is the one who's the half-brother of the love interest. So he's got to be like, let me get my tragic backstory out here, whether you like it or not. Apropos of nothing. Like, there's no lead up. He just shows up and starts doing this. The capitalists are the richest of the elite, owning the bulk of the corporations in the continent. A small group of men and women in the general's favor, always happy to collude with the company. So we've got the capitalists, the continent, the general, the company. Why bother naming things and making your world feel fleshed out? That is for losers. So basically his story is that his big muckety-muck dad used to hold dinner parties where he would hold a murder mystery and somebody would be the murderer and everyone else would have to figure out who it was. So basically like Werewolf or the murder game, like if you ever played it in the park or whatever. But anyway, I don't know why like adult people are playing this at a dinner party, but he basically tells a story to tell that he doesn't let people win and also that he can figure out when somebody's up to something. And he always figured out who the murderer was. And so now he's like, and I'm on to you, main character, and he pulls out a gun. Nobody knows how to write a bully that's like just a regular bully. All of these bullies want to do homicide. So Ro is now pointing a gun at the main character's head, and his toady is blocked off the exit. And he's just like, I know who you are, and you should be dead. I should kill you. Ooh, but plot twist. Oh no, plot twist. I don't care. He wasn't actually talking to Ren, even though it totally seemed like he was. Very, very sneaky on the author's part to make it seem like he was talking to Ren, but actually he was talking to Batima. And he's like, I saw your wrists when you touched the dying guy. He's like, you're an empath. I'm gonna shoot you.
And this is all such a narrative cheat on the author's part to make us think that he was going to shoot the main character, but then switch, because he was looking at her, basically talking to her, and pointing his gun at her, but he's not actually here for her. And back in the previous scene, when the guy was on the spike, Ro was looking at the main character. It pointed it out in the text that he was looking at Ren, not at Batima. So we were even more convinced that he was here for Ren. Like, stuff like that, like, you have to make it make sense. Why would he be looking at Ren this whole time when he's here for Batima? It only exists not because it's logical for the character, but because the author is like, oh, I can do a bait and switch.
This place is, like, so emotionless, though. They're like, you, girl, showed emotion when that man died in front of you, and therefore you must be an empath. But he pulls the trigger, and I guess we'll find out in the next chapter if Batima, the character that we didn't really know or care about, is dead and also was an empath. Why is the chapter so long? I'll probably just go ahead and do the next chapter. This is the most interesting thing that's happened in this book so far. Look how far we are. The most interesting thing that's happened. And we're back, chapter 23. Let's find out what happened. So Batima is dead. They do shoot her. I don't care. But it does raise the question that I don't know if this main character will think about, how many people like me are here, like in this military. So one of the reasons that the bad people, that Ro and company thought that Batima was definitely an empath was that she vomited after watching someone die. And our main character just ran into the barracks and vomited after watching someone die. So does that mean other people are going to think that she's an empath? One of the girl bullies, Kess, is smirking, and the main character is really pissed about it. I mean, maybe she just has resting bitch face. You don't know. Also, there will be absolutely no therapy for these people. No counseling whatsoever. They have just witnessed 2 deaths now. And after the first one, they were just expected to deal with it. Like, I'm pretty sure if you're a soldier in the military, at least in the United States military, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but if, like, someone dies during training, they probably at least offer you a token amount of counseling. Like, something. I've got more questions for you.
Okay.
All right, mister. Now, you better tell me everything straight. If you're in the army, if you're in training, and somebody died, what would happen?
Well, I can tell you honestly from my first-hand experience what would happen, because when I was in basic training, we did have somebody die. We actually had a couple people die. Not in my company, but in my training battalion. We were training in Fort Benning, Georgia, where it was very humid and very hot, and 2 soldiers died of dehydration. And they gave us a series of Black Flag days, which is to address the cause of the death, which was dehydration. And we were not able to do anything outside during those high heat index days in the next couple days. And also, every hour, on the hour, everyone was required to form up and drink a canteen of water, a full quart of water, and be watched while doing it. So for 2 days, we didn't go outside. We only had training classes inside in the air conditioning, and we drank a quart of water every hour. I believe that's a gallon every 4 hours, or something like 4 to 5 gallons a day. They'd even wake us up in the middle of the night every hour to drink another quart of water.
So if one of your fellows was to die, like, violently in front of you, how would the army react?
Well, so in basic training, they would be, like everyone in the company would probably get counseled. Probably a group counseling for the company, and everyone would go to the chaplain, in some random church, and he'd have a group counseling and a slide deck, and then anyone who was like nearby and got your battle buddy splattered on, you would probably have a personal one-on-one session with people.
Right.
And then whatever the cause was that caused this death or accident, the army would like 1,000% to an extreme of a reaction, like, oh, someone died of dehydration, we're going to make sure everyone drinks like 8 gallons of water a day. So whatever the cause was, they'd have an overly extreme reaction to make sure that never fucking happened
So
again.
if someone fell 4 stories onto a spike, what do you think the army would do about that?
No training allowed above the 2nd story. In fact, no soldiers would probably be allowed above the 2nd story, period. If people were like living on the 3rd floor of the barracks, they didn't have any other buildings, they would now have all of their gear and bed outside in order to make sure no one could get above the 2nd story and fall off a building again. We might also remove all spikes, spend the next 5 days removing every spike and every picket fence from the base.
If any soldiers showed emotion about the death, would they be punished?
No.
All right. Well, I think that's all I need from you. Carry on about your day, citizen.
Okay.
I was never here.
Sure.
She's really cut up about Batima's death. Granted, she did know Batima better than she knew that other red shirt who died. But, she's watched 2 people die today, and the only one that's actually affected her is Batima. The other one she apparently just shrugged off. So, of course, our main character's having a crisis because everybody's like, yeah, she's dead, but she was a mutant, so it's okay, actually. But nobody's thinking about, how did she make it this far? If she really was a mutant, how did she make it this far without getting discovered? She's in this elite soldier training program. Our main character, yes, is also here, but she wasn't raised in this society. She was raised outside of this, culture in her little farm village. So, how did Batima get here? And are there others? A valid concern. She starts thinking about her parents, who are also dead as far as she knows, and she says that they both sacrificed their lives for the uprising. They both fought against the tide of oppression, refusing to back down. It's really too bad their daughter can't be arsed. Kane offers her a cuddle, and she takes him up on it. She goes over there to spoon. Here's our sad attempt at a love triangle, because she gets so emotional, and she just kisses Kane. I know that some people get horny when they're really upset. I assume, is that an allosexual thing? Allosexuals, is this a thing? That's never been, when I am deeply upset, someone has just died, the last thought in my mind is sexy times. But I guess some people, not the same way, because she and Kane are making out now fully. Kane, however, thankfully for us, decides to be a gentleman, and he's like, I will not do sexy times with you because you are mourning. So far, Kane is the best character, somehow. He's kind of a nothing character. He's just kind of a relentless flirt. But he's decided to have honorable personality at the last minute here. So we cut to the next morning, and the commanding officers come in, and they're like, yep, Batima definitely was a mutant, and it was right that she was shot in the head, the end. Again, our main character is so shook at Batima's death, and yes, that was deeply distressing, but they also watched somebody else die that day. They watched 2 people die that day, and that other guy's name might as well be Chop Liver, because, he is nothing to them. She's so mad that the commanders are like, okay, go about your business like nothing happened. And I'm like, what about that other guy? We didn't even stop to tell people to go about their business when he died, because everybody just knew he was such a nothing character. The main character is completely fine with the fact that this training regimen will kill people, but somebody got killed in a different way, and she's really upset by that. So the system is fine. There's no flaws here. It's just that there's racism also. Also, there's racism. But it's fine if they do training courses that will kill students horribly. The students will fall onto spikes and die screaming. That's fine. The main character thinks that there's no reason that she should be upset about that. She meets Kane coming out of the shower, and he's very cool. He's like, yeah, I understand what happened last night was just a moment of heightened emotion, but I am still into you, so if you ever wanted to do it again at a time when it's more appropriate, I'm down. He is so mature all of a sudden out of nowhere, because he was nothing but a rakish, flirt. But in this moment, he's just like, nah, I have found my maturity. And I like characters who have layers, who have levels. But it almost feels like he's not a layered person so much as he's a completely different person for these scenes, conveniently. She's decided that she can't stay here. She's going to demand to go back to jail, if that's what it takes. She goes to talk to Cross. Cannot get over that stupid name. And as she approaches his office, she hears his father's voice. And she's heard the voice from the company broadcasts. Of course, Cross, being a good guy deep down, is arguing with his father about Roe having killed a fellow recruit and why that's bad. Apparently, you cannot prove if somebody is a mutant after they're dead. So, like, he could shoot anybody, claim they were a mutant, and get away with it, I guess? I thought that maybe there'd be some way to prove it. Like, they're called silver bloods, so I assumed that at least sometimes their blood was silver. But I guess it only turns silver specifically in their arms, specifically when they're using their powers. I'm glad I already crossed off magic system is ridiculous, because
by all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
So she's forced to go back to her barracks because she doesn't want to get caught. But she's still, like, determined, I'm gonna leave, because Roe is dangerous and he's gonna figure me out. It's only at this point, this far into the book, that she's like, maybe I should make an escape plan. Like, if my two options are here or prison, I should make my own third option. It's taken her until page 229 to think of that. And that's only because somebody else had to die first to motivate her. So we cut to the sparring ring, and of course she's sent to spar against Kess, one of the bullies, and she decides that the best way to get out of here is to let the bully, like, severely injure her. That's her escape plan. I'm glad I crossed off terrible plans and why is it always the dumb bitches. That's her escape plan.
Is it supposed to be stupid?
And that's the end of the chapter. Her wrist is broken and they take her to medical. And that's where I'm going to stop. I am going to go make art for a friend of mine's housewarming party and not think about this dumb book. Alright, we're back. This is my first weekend free in a long time, and I'm spending it reading this. So this is how much I love you, that I'm spending my time off with this thing. Chapter 24. Things might finally be happening. Our character may have finally been spurred into taking some type of action.
Get used to disappointment.
She would have been happy to coast along, just like trying to fail and not failing until she was like one of these elite soldiers. She would have been at their graduation and been like, well, I'm going to trip as I go to the graduation stage. Like, it's no effort. No thought, head empty.
Didn't even try.
For some reason, though, she thinks that breaking her wrist is going to get her out. Like, I thought we were going to finally have some shenanigans where she, like, sneaked out and did something besides stealing a very obvious motorcycle. Like, had an actual plan with actual thought put into it. But apparently, her plan is break her wrist?
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
But Cross comes barging into her hospital room to grill her about how she got injured. But she's like, oh, my wrist will need to be in a cast for at least like 6 weeks, and they're recommending surgery, so I can't train. And I'm like, so they have a lot of technology in this world, but their medical technology seems to be at about the same place as ours, which is interesting and kind of lazy.
Later we find out that that's totally not true, and they actually have a lot of advanced medical technology, which you think they would use for their elite soldier training course. Like, maybe not their regular run-of-the-mill soldiers, but their elite soldiers you think they would. But honestly, the medical stuff in this world is so poorly thought out. It's just whatever the heck the author wants to do at any given moment, with no thought for how it would work, for the infrastructure, for how it came about, for who, like, no thought. Like, you think this book had no thought? Even less was given to the world building around the medical stuff.
So Cross comes in, grills her about what happened, and then just dips again. And then they send in Ellis, who is a mutant. And he was like speed dispatched to come see her. Okay. He is one of, for some reason, mutants in this world are pretty much exclusively brain related. So like mind control, mind reading, emotion reading, like that sort of thing. Except, and we had this hinted at earlier, some of them can just heal people. And I was like, why? That doesn't match. One of these things is not like the other. And it's so we can have this scene. So, like, we don't have to have good medical technology. We can just say that every now and then one of the mutants is just able to magically heal people. So he's one of those, and he's going to fix her wrist right up, so she has to go back in. I am waiting to find out, like, why they are so determined to keep this girl in the program. I hope it's explained.
Get used to disappointment.
And also, he asks her, as he's, like, healing her arm with magic, he's like, wouldn't you like to know? Everybody always asks me how I do it. Wouldn't you like to know how I'm healing you? And she literally says, nope, then don't bring it up. If you don't want to explain your magic, don't bring it up. Don't have a character go, do you want to know how this works? And your main character go, no, not interested. Why bring it up at all then? The author has no idea how this magic works. Yeah, she doesn't ask, and she says, yep, I don't need to know, and he just leaves, and that's it. She's been healed with literal magic. She doesn't care how that works, and he just buggers off.
Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
So she just goes back to her barracks where everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're healed. And she's like, yeah, they had a healer flown in special for me. If I was her, I would be flooded with so many questions about why the heck that was a thing. And she's not. This girl has no curiosity. She's the worst spy ever. No wonder she's not doing anything to, like, help the resistance. She has no thoughts. She made one plan, suck at this job, and that's the only plan she's ever going to make. And she's not even good at it. As she's falling asleep in her bed like nothing happened, she finally gets a mental poke, from Declan, who's one of the resistance leaders. I guess we decided that this book should have some kind of plot, and we don't want the main character to be responsible for it, because main characters who act and make choices are not the type we're interested in, I guess. But he's like, I guess we've decided to use you or something, so you're gonna meet with Adrienne. She's like, but there's cameras everywhere, how am I supposed to meet with Adrienne? And she forgets that she told us at the beginning that the Resistance can basically hack anything. So, of course, Declan is like, there won't be cameras tomorrow night. So that's the end of that chapter, and I'll probably just go on to the next one. It's really short. I hate it when main characters, like, make choices and do things. It's way more fun when the plot just gets handed to them. All right, on to chapter 25. I don't know. I'm just going to keep sighing and saying I don't know. Because, like, is this book really popular? Or have we forgotten about this already and I'm reading this for no reason? Yeah, she gives up so easily, so immediately. She finally decides after watching someone get shot in the head in front of her that she needs to escape. Her plan is to get her wrist broken. That doesn't work. And so she says, last night after Alice healed me, I resigned myself to my fate. This woman is the character equivalent of a golden retriever with its head stuck in a chair, except for not nearly as charming. She's just like, well, I guess this is just what happens now. Nothing I can do about it. And the thing is, she doesn't have to be this way. This character is so tied down to being passive. It's like the author is going out of her way to make this character passive, to find reasons for this character not to act. Let your characters act, even if your character is in a situation because of the plot where they don't have a lot of agency. Give them something. And this girl could have so much that she could be up to and doing and scheming and whatever, especially once she figures out that they will not kick her out. She could be getting up to so much, but she doesn't. I feel the weight of the mission pressing down on me as I make my way across the base. The mission that she's gotten so far, her mission, is meet with Adrienne. The weight of the mission to meet with somebody. She doesn't even know her way around. She could have at least been memorizing the base, since apparently they're allowed to wander. But she doesn't know where the meeting place is. It's in one of the vehicle pools, and she's like, I don't know where that is. And so Declan, the rebel leader, who's not even in the base that she should be scouting out, sends her a mental image of where that is. She has so little agency that she doesn't even bother to explore. I wonder when she's going to get to learn to drive a tank, because in this vehicle pool, there's literally tanks. And I'm like, whose tanks are these, and why are they here? And do the recruits get to learn to drive them ever, or are they just here for decoration? Probably the second one, because these recruits are mostly going to be climbing buildings and doing hand-to-hand combat. So she meets up with Adrienne with no trouble, and Adrienne is like, yeah, I hated your uncle, because everybody has to be antagonistic. They flew in a healer for you, so they must know something that we don't know. You have to be important somehow. At this point, if I was Adrienne or anyone in the rebel group, I would assume that the main character had defected, that she was no longer a rebel. I wouldn't be like, oh, she's definitely still one of us. Especially like you left her here and you ignored her. Just assume that you lost her. She's not your agent anymore. She hasn't been helping you or contacting you or anything. It would make a lot more sense if the main character had been being proactive within the base, if she had been sending information to the rebellion or something, but she hasn't, and the rebellion just told her that she wasn't important, and only now, when they fly in a healer specifically for her, does the rebellion come crawling back. And they have no reason to believe that Ren would still be on their side. Also, why are we having this conversation in person and not telepathically? But apparently, Batima was their woman on the inside, and now she's dead. So they're like, we need you to be our woman on the inside. Again, I would have loved if this character had come up with that idea on her own. But no, the plot has to be handed to her. Everything has to just be dropped in this character's lap for her to do anything. So she's like, you're our agent now. And of course the main character pushes back, like, I don't want to follow your orders. And then this person's like, okay, well, we don't really need you. You're not in the uprising anymore. And I'm like, you have no proof she was in the uprising now. Ren might turn around for all this lady knows and immediately tattle on the uprising and this whole meeting. This woman's immediately being every authority character in these books, you know, like I said, if you're over 30, you're in charge of being wrong. So of course she's being super aggressive, she's being super dismissive, she's being like, you will follow my orders and you will ask no questions. And it's like, why? It's people my age are never allowed in these books to be like smart or good at their jobs. But basically now our main character is being given permission by the plot to stop failing at everything, because if she's the inside woman, then she wants to get as far as she can in this organization, and so she should start succeeding. This is such an aimless mess. So aimless. There's only 5 weeks more left of this elite soldier training program. I don't think the rebels have to worry about this army because they seem to be the worst at teaching their soldiers or churning out useful soldiers. This is their elite training program, and it is like 10 weeks long. Okay, this woman is a mutant because she starts communicating psychically, and I'm like, then why are we having this face-to-face meeting at all? So she thinks about it for like 10 seconds after Adrienne leaves. She's like, do I really want to do this? She has not thought about how her people are being like persecuted and she could personally do something about it, even though she is in the rebellion and has been in the rebellion, supposedly. Nigel, I'm trying to talk about the rebellion. Yeah, so don't mind him. He also has opinions. He has very strong opinions about this book. It's only now that she goes, wait, my people are in danger, and I could stop other young girls from being shot in the head just for being who they are. I need to do this. It's so contrived, and it would have been so easy for it not to be. That's the most frustrating thing. If this author had had even one developmental editor be firm with her and say, you could get the same results, but let your main character be proactive instead of passive, this book could have been just like that factor could have made this book so much better. I mean, it's never probably going to be an amazing book because it's so derivative, but just letting this character care about things besides hot boys and herself and be proactive would have solved a lot of this book's problems. Meanwhile, we are halfway through, and only now has the main character decided to do anything, and that's because somebody showed up and told her to. I am going to stop for now, but I'll probably come back and film later today. I just need a break from this book. Alright, against my better judgment, I'm back for more of this chapter today. I have an emotional support donut. There's a new raspberry one from Quick Trip. It's pretty good. I like their pink lemonade one better, though. Chapter 26. Let's see if our main character will actually do things after having the plot set into her lap. In chapter 25, we are 240 or so pages in. 240 pages in. We may have a plot. Oh, they're actually doing soldier things today. They're shooting guns in the desert, which is the least soldiery way to say that. But it's sniper training, and I guess we had to do that because she's really, really a good shot, and now she's supposed to excel, so we'll see if she just does. What is her cunning plan to make up for the fact that she was really bad at everything, and now she's allowed to be good?
It's a cunning plan, actually. Of course it is.
In case you're worried, though, that our main character is not still sexy, Kane is back to flirting with her again. Of course, now they're down here in their desert fatigue. She's doing well, and she thinks to herself that she's been making these shots since she was 10 years old. So just in case you're wondering, she's been a badass since she was a little bitty kid. But once again, they can't just go shoot at targets. There has to be some sort of drill that involves two-person teams. They really love to split these people up into 2 to 4-person teams for some reason. Are there going to be a lot of operations that have them doing this? This has not been explained. The actual things that they will be doing in the field have not actually been explained, but apparently may involve climbing over buildings and shooting things in the desert. So they are a sniper and a spotter team, so she's got the gun, and Ivy, her partner, has the binoculars. So she's having absolutely no further thoughts. Like, after the end of that chapter, that was the end of all of her thoughts about, like, hey, maybe I don't want to do this, or, like, what does it mean for me to be, like, a spy and get into this elite military unit? Like, should I do this? Do I want to do this? She thought about that briefly at the end of the previous chapter, and now she's over it. She's all in now. If you're wondering if characters are still constantly swiveling their heads, swiveling their whole bodies, yes. I just haven't been mentioning it every time, but this is definitely one of the author's crutch words. Swiveling. And it's also, like, very noticeable because, again, when I picture swiveling, I picture a very distinct movement. And this is just picturing people, just human beings just doing it is odd to me. It reminds me of when I was talking to one of my patrons, and we were talking about a distinction between something like horror and terror. A lot of authors would use those two words interchangeably, but in reality, they are different words, and they do have slightly different meanings. And using a more precise word will often go in your favor as an author. So using swivel, yes, it can mean to turn, but it means a very distinct way of turning. Words do have meanings, and they are not interchangeable. So if you've got your thesaurus out, and you're like, I just want to use, like, all of these words, remember that they may have similar but distinct meanings, and you may be causing your reader to picture something very, very odd. What's his nuts is here for some reason. Hot guy. Cross. He came in sexily riding on a motorcycle. Yeah, the main character is not even pretending that she's, like, going to slowly get better. She's just suddenly good. Like, all she'd have to do was steadily get better, but no, she's just good now. And everybody's like, what's going on? And she's just like, oh, I was studying some books about shooting in my free time. And that has made me a crack shot when before I couldn't hit anything.
You serious?
But then she decides to pull a Katniss because, oh, the leadership has stopped paying attention to her amazing feats of sniping. So she decides she's going to snipe, like, something in their, like, area. They're in a little tent. They're drinking coffee and talking. And Hunger Games did it, so she shoots some of the leadership's canteen because she's dumb. I don't know why. Why? She decides that she needs them to pay attention to her. Like, all of a sudden she's an attention hog. I just don't. This character is just reliably inconsistent. She is who and whatever the author wants her to be at any given moment. She is not a real person. But because she decided to snipe at the command, they lowered her score for the day. And she's mad because, like, now she's doing well, and she's still getting not as high of scores as she should because people don't like her. It's high school. They have archery class for some reason. They have high-powered sniper rifles, but she still has archery class in this elite soldier training unit. Is this summer camp? And of course, she's mad, not because, oh no, I'm going to fail my mission, but because she knows she's good and she wants to have head pats for it. Bitch, why do you care what these people think of you? They're the enemy. It's not because of her mission, it's because she's a brat. I'm good at this, and people should have to tell me, even the people I hate. We keep hearing about, they keep doing, like, this training class to, like, shield their minds with Amira. And we keep hearing about how every single time she has a scene with Amira, it's pretty much identical. She really wants to reach out to Amira, but then doesn't. And this is exactly the same thing again. We've had 3 scenes like that. That's a donut, Nigel. You do not want a donut. That's a raspberry donut. He's of the opinion that because he's old, he should just get all people food. Granted, he believes that all people food is chicken and cheese. Don't worry, he does not get a lot of cheese. So finally, she's mentally communicating with the rebellion one night, and she finally has the idea that maybe she could do a little spying and be useful. And she's like, hey, I can get you the blueprints to the command building or something. And they're like, great, that sounds ideal. And I'm like, why did it take us this long to think of that as an option? This rebellion sucks. I don't know how they plan to succeed at anything. They're both simultaneously really, really powerful and covert, and apparently also just the worst at their jobs. So the end of this chapter ends with her sending the blueprint over psychically. We don't even watch her like go get it or anything. She just has it memorized, I guess, and sends it to them.
Didn't even try.
That's the end of that chapter. I'll be right back for the next chapter. Are you getting sick of me in this outfit yet? I don't know. I don't know how these are going to be split up, so maybe it'll even be between two different videos. We're at that middle part where I feel like I'm not making any progress, but chapter 27. Later they're in tech class. I love how vague everything is, so that later when she knows how to do this, that, or the other, we can just claim that she learned it in the class that we didn't watch. But she's asked Kane to make a distraction. Kane immediately gets into a high school style boy fight. I guess what she stole was a signal jammer? Maybe. Anyway, she grabs something while Kane is keeping the other guy distracted. And then we smash cut to her bunk and she's sneaking out. And she uses a signal jammer, but I don't know for sure that that's what she stole. So I guess she's doing a mission now because she's searching for a target on the second floor of a building on the base.
Oh, he's doing his own theme music?
Apparently, though, it is in Cross's office, whatever she's going after. She decides to go around the outside because his office is locked, so she goes to the roof. And then apparently there's a fire escape that doesn't go all the way down, making it a fairly useless fire escape. But she gets partway and then, just somehow, we don't know what the building's even made of. Brick, presumably. She just, spider monkeys her way in. I'm sure her uncle taught her how to do that when she was 5 or something. Okay, I guess she's not in his office, she's in his living quarters, but I was pretty sure she called it his office earlier, so I don't know what's going on or where she is. But wherever she is, she can hear him doing the do with a lady somewhere. Of course, it will just be absolutely shallow, meaningless sex, because as we have well established, these characters can never have felt romantic love before, or even true romantic attraction. But she goes to his kitchen, which is apparently connected to his bedroom, because from the kitchen, she peeks through his bedroom door, and she's like, they're on the bed. And I'm like, yeah, that's usually where sex happens. You're lucky they didn't decide to be a little bit fun and have it in the kitchen instead. She stops in her mission to watch them have sex, though. This is important for her. Somehow Cross senses her because he's like a Jedi or something. I've read this sequence twice and I don't know why. But he leaps up and in seconds crosses the room and is holding a knife to the main character's throat as she's holding a knife to his. So I'm very confused because nothing was explained to me beforehand. This author is doing one of those things where she just has the character do things and we find out what the plan is as the character does them, which are not always bad, but these authors are awful at executing it and you just end up with your reader frustrated and confused. So I guess she was here for him or something? It seemed like she needed to get something from his apartment, but now she's just holding a knife to his throat and telling his sexy companion to leave, and she's like, you know why I'm here. Is this all because of her bad grades? Is she coming to speak to him because of her bad grades? If that's all it is, I'm going to be so pissed off. And yet at the same time, not even slightly surprised. But she stops threatening Cross with her dagger, and he tells his companion to go, and the main character feels smug about it. Important information, our main character is very anti-threesomes because Cross is like, hey, you could just join us. And she's like, absolutely not. I'd rather die. She literally says, I'd rather die. So no threesomes for her. So he does zip up his pants. He was mostly clothed while they were having sex. But he zips up his pants, but he leaves his shirt off. We don't need that. We want to be able to stare at his man chest.
Yes, for your pillowy man bosoms.
You gotta get reminded of his tattoos, though. Sounds like a really pretentious tattoo, honestly. Definitely that tattoo of a guy who thinks that he's extremely deep, but is in fact about as deep as a puddle. Intricate wings and flames with cryptic lines of text snaking through them. So yeah, she is here about her grades, apparently. I hope she's here for some other reason as well. But she's like, yeah, you're sabotaging me in the program. And he's like, well, why have you started doing better? He seems to be the only one who's concerned about this. Everyone else just seems to believe her story, that she got good because she read a few books in her free time. Oh, we're going to talk and drink now. Gotta have that scene. He's pulling out whiskey for them. Of course, we have to take a break from the conversation for several thirsty paragraphs. Just about how hot he is and how much she wants him, even though she shouldn't. Okay, apparently the jammer was what she stole at tech class. And she totally just shows it to him, even though she could keep it and make it useful later for her actual mission here. She's not going to do that. That'd be smart. We don't do that here. He, of course, congratulates her on doing so. He's like, I'm fine with this. If he was stupid enough to let you steal it, you deserve it. Like, this girl could be waltzing around here doing rebel bullshit left, right, and center, and he'd just be, like, applauding her for it. Like, why isn't she doing more? She's doing the absolute least at all times. So they're just having a conversation. It's incredibly boring, but somehow they come around to, like, the fact that when she researched Cross, he's not actually, like, within the chain of command. He's just the general's son. But I guess that still means he gets to be around here bossing people around. So he's coming around to her. She's just like begging and pleading, like, stop lowering my scores. I want to succeed now, trust me. And he asks her where she learned to shoot like that. And she's like, my uncle taught me when I was, and she starts to say 5. And then she realizes how stupid that is. And she's like 9 or 10. So I'm still waiting to find out how being an excellent shot is clearly part of her powers somehow.
Get used to disappointment.
And that's it. And then she leaves his place through the front door. So that whole thing of her, like, sneaking in like a ninja and holding a knife to his throat was just so he would stop giving her crappy grades. And he's into it. He likes that. He likes a girl who climbs in his window and threatens him while he's trying to have sexy times. That's a turn on for him, I think. All right, next chapter is short. One more chapter, and then I'm going to probably not read this book for a couple of days. All right. One more time. One more chapter here before I go do other things for the rest of my evening. Chapter 28. I guess they're jumping out of a plane. They're skydiving now. It's just so random, the things that they do for training. And tonight it's skydiving, I guess. Also, she's incredibly into it. She loves skydiving because she loves everything and is good at everything. As per usual, Liddy is the one who is nervous, and our main character is giving her another pep talk. Also, this is their first time jumping out of a plane, and they're just doing it solo. So I guess we can hopefully assume that they were given some kind of practice or lesson on the ground before they're just doing this, but we are not really interested in setting things up in this book. We just do things. She doesn't even deploy her own parachute. She's falling, she's having a great time. It says, then with a sharp tug, my parachute deploys. So she didn't deploy it? Are they deployed automatically? I don't understand. So, of course, she lands exactly in the landing zone. Kane is already there to congratulate her. Everything goes fine. I don't even know why we did that sequence, except for maybe she's going to have to parachute later in the book, and we have to have some kind of setup for her being able to do that. I mean, you could just claim her uncle taught her how to do it. But now that they've landed, they're tenting it in the desert. They apparently run an obstacle course, but we don't get to see it. It's just told to us in a paragraph, and now they're all just sitting around the fire. Because the interesting or exciting parts of a dystopian are not what this author wants to write. She's here for the romance and the characters having conversations. And, like, being here for romance and conversations is fine, but then why did you set it the way you set it? So they've got a radio out there, and they're broadcasting the general's latest speech, which is literally telling his citizens not to think. Thinking is bad. We don't do that here. A little bit on the nose, I feel. But what can I expect from this book? Oh, wow, they're really roughing it. They have outdoor showers set up. Wow. You know, my brother, who's in the military, has had to spend weeks crawling through mosquito-infested swamps and has been completely sleep-deprived and miserable and still expected to function and, like, drive tanks and stuff. These people have an outdoor shower. The only reason they have the outdoor shower, though, is so when she approaches it, oh, Cross is already there, and he's already getting naked for his shower. This is so stupid. She's like, I've seen naked men before. Tonight, in fact, I saw some naked guys in the shower. But Cross, better than all of the other naked guys. And if you're wondering if we're just getting paragraphs about how attractive he is, yes. And it is as boring as it sounds. Oh, I have to read you this line. I clench my teeth, steeling myself against his potent sex appeal. What skillful writing we have. So she gets into the shower stall right next to his, and the showers are only divided by like very short dividers. So he can just, he's tall, he's so tall. All these guys are ridiculously tall. He can easily look over and just stare at her nudity as well. But her boobies are so amazing that his like breath hitches when she pulls them out. He glances at me, then slides a bar of soap between his heavy pecs. All I can think of is,
yes, for your pillowy man bosoms.
Why did we have to go out into the desert for this shower scene? Like, it's co-ed. You could just have him be like, I have to shower in your guys' shower because mine's broken or something. She showers with dudes all the time. Like, why do we have to go to the desert for this? They finish their, like, brief flirting, asking each other who they're sleeping with, as if that's anybody's business. And then he grabs a towel and just walks away. So he's just walking across the desert in a towel. He does not get dressed. It does not say he gets dressed. It just says he grabs the towel and walks away. And she goes back to her friends where they lay out their bedrolls and they all tee-hee and ha-ha about, ooh, do you have a crush on the general's son? Hee-hee-hee-hee, high school things. So somebody says, it's rare to see him like that. And she says, like what? And he says, out of control. And I can only imagine he says this because Cross just wandered off from the showers wearing only a towel. And that is indeed unhinged behavior. He could still be walking in the desert now, for all we know, clad only in a towel. Of course, everybody and their brother is invested in her romance because, like, in these books, all of the characters, like, have nothing else going on except for the main character's romance. All right, we're back. It has been, like, at least a week since I actually read this monster, but we are halfway through, so we can do this. All right, chapter 29. Can I remember anything that was happening? Does it matter if I can remember anything that was happening? Probably not. So we jump directly into another drill. We first find out that Liddy has been tutoring our main character, so her test scores are going up, her written test scores, who cares? It's really hard to make me care at this point since the main character doesn't, but she really likes the drills, and they're doing a new drill, and it's a rescue one where two people have to play hostages, other people have to rescue them. I imagine they take turns as the hostages and the rescuers, but this time our main character is waiting to be rescued. Luckily, she's with Kane, her best buddy, and also guy who thinks she's hot. For whatever reason, in this exercise, if you fail, you just have to start over. So they've been waiting for their rescuers, and the rescuers keep failing and having to start over. When in every other exercise, if you fail, you're just immediately disqualified. So I don't know why this one's different. So they decide they're bored and sick of waiting, and they bust out. And as quickly as I explained that, that's how the book explains it as well. They have the idea. I say we just tag team the little general next time he does his rounds. Kane gives me a hopeful look. I grin. I'm down. So that's what we do. The next time the door creaks open to reveal a shadowy silhouette of a guard dog, Kane and I spring to action. Our movements are synchronized as we dive forward, overpowering Roe before he can react. I feel like a pair of badasses as we strut out of the warehouse a few minutes later. That's it. That's the entire sequence. From planning to execution to having won. That's it.
Didn't even try, made lots of money. Didn't even try, made lots of money.
But of course they get in trouble because they weren't supposed to bust themselves out, damn it. Oh, but apparently this was a patience drill because everything about this particular training screams patience. They were just supposed to wait there for a certain amount of time, and if they did, they win. Again, we're just being told things about the character. My impulsive nature chased against the confines of these mission parameters. The desire for action will always burn like a wildfire inside me. Get it? Do you get it? She's like impulsive and action-oriented, except for when she's not, until she'll just happily sit around on her ass doing nothing until somebody shows up to tell her that she should care. By the way, these are flaws that this type of character are allowed to have. She gets called reckless and impatient. It's sort of like being clumsy. It's not really a flaw, especially if you're writing an exciting book where there are action scenes. But also, like, you'd think that a reckless and impulsive character would drive the plot forward, but she doesn't. How do you write a reckless and impulsive character who sits on her hands? till like halfway through the book. She's like, my impulsiveness is such a huge flaw. All of a sudden I've decided if only I hadn't rushed to like try to save Uncle Jim, but all she did was watch his execution. Like, yeah, she eventually used her mind powers, but that was a total accident. You know what she should have done if she's supposed to be so reckless and impulsive is she should have charged the stage. She should have done something reckless and impulsive instead of getting there and then standing there going, what can I do? What can I do? While doing nothing until her magic powers activated. They're told to stand at attention, but they have never been trained what that is. How do they know how to stand at attention? I mean, most of us would be able to approximate it because we watch TV shows, but like, is that something that people see on TV in this world? So J.D. Vallance is here and she's picking on somebody called Peter. He's barely out of his teens. Boy, we will just recruit anybody for this elite soldier unit. But apparently J.D. Vallance, one of her powers is to predict the future because she's like, yeah, Peter, you're gonna get some soldiers killed in the future, so you gotta go. Our main character decides she's just not gonna think about it, which makes it easy. This author loves a good hand wave. She keeps being like, yeah, I've brought up this problem, but I don't actually want to deal with it. I just want to bring it up. So, for a second, I experience a twinge of fear, but I push it away because I don't have time to worry about whether JD may or may not have visions about me. There are far more pressing dangers in my life right now. Then why did we bring it? Why did we bring it up here if the main character's not going to have to think about it? So in one paragraph, she says, I push that thought down. I don't think about it right now. And then we time cut and it says, JD's visit stays with me all night. So what is it? Did she push it down and stop thinking about it? Or is it like eating away at her? What are we doing? It's contradicting itself on the same frickin' page. She's still not thinking about like, what if JD can tell that I'm working for the resistance by reading my future? She's like, oh, but what if she was wrong about Peter? So what if she's wrong about Peter? We didn't know him until a page ago. So she decides to reach out to Wolf, who I'm starting to wonder if Wolf is Hot Guy, her love interest. I wonder if they're the same person. It's going to turn out that he's been like communicating with her all this time. So they're communicating psychically, yet it says, his laughter tickles my ear. How? You're communicating psychically. You're not hearing his laugh, and you're certainly not feeling it. So she's still not contemplating whether this woman could get her killed. She's like, hey, Wolf, do you believe in fate? She's contemplating whether predictions can be true, not whether J.D. Vallance could predict that she's like a danger. So she talks about fate with Wolf and then goes for a walk. And of course, Hottie McHotpants finds her. This scene is exactly what you expect. They're flirting, they're steaming with attraction. It's so boring. Like, you've read this exact scene 1,000 times, but done better. So just to be clear, the part of this chapter where a precog appears to tell someone that they're going to get people killed in the future and then drags them out of the program is about a page. But we are on like page 3 of flirting with this guy. We all know the important stuff here. I don't really understand why this guy is like being so ridiculously horny right now. Like, he's got her pressed up against the wall, he's doing all the sexy things, you know, leaning over her, caressing her face, and all, you know, all the things. And I'm like, why though? Why now? What in this moment, aside from he wandered over and found her standing in the dark? Like, is she just horny? Just happens to be horny and she's here? Like, there's no natural progression to this relationship. It isn't a steady ramping up of like attraction and interactions. It's just a bunch of forced interactions with dialogue that you've heard a million times, and it's not ramping up. It's like the same level every time.
So I know I've been doing like Fourth Wing did it kind of examples, and this is just the dragon horniness scene from Fourth Wing without the our dragons are doing it so we're really horny excuse. It's the exact same scene. They're both outside at night feeling very horny, but they just don't have any reason to. It kind of goes along with my theory. This is just my pet theory. Probably incorrect, but obviously the author of this book, it's a pen name, and nobody's quite sure who the actual author is, at least as far as I know. There are a lot of theories about who it could be, but my theory is that if it is one of the big popular names that are writing right now, it is Rebecca Yarros, because this is so similar to all of the things she does. We know she can crank out a lot of words in a short time. We know she likes to rely on just the same old tried and true tropes and phrases and scenes over and over and over again. It would be super easy for her, I think, to shit this book out in her free time, and consequently she is at the moment taking a break from Fourth Wing, so maybe they asked her, hey, could you shit out a different military style book? Make this one a dystopian. Make us a horny dystopian. And she was like, can do. And this is what came out of it. That's my theory. That's my pet theory. You are free to disagree with me because I have absolutely no proof other than just the vibes of this book, the way that it's written. It screams Yarros to me.
Like, at least a lot of times in these books, I can believe that the characters are sexually attracted to each other. But this feels so much like the author keeps trying to force me to believe that they're sexually attracted to each other, that I don't believe it. Somehow there is no chemistry whatsoever between these two people. Like, usually there's at least sexual chemistry, and most of the time nothing else. Like, you wonder why, like, Violet and Xaden actually like each other, aside from finding each other very sexy. But, like, these two, there's nothing. There's less than nothing. It is a bottomless pit of nothing as to why these two would ever be drawn to each other. Except that they're both hot, and the book says they have to be. I feel like the author is standing behind both of these characters holding a knife to their back and pushing them closer together like, kiss, kiss. Yeah, now they're kissing, and I don't understand why, except for that the book said that they should at this point. It's using all of the buzzwords, but buzzwords do not make a compelling scene. Like, he's trying to claim me. He's trying to consume me. Like, we've heard all of these words 1,000 times, and you're not doing anything interesting with them. But, oh no, they get cock-blocked before they can go further. Why would they? I don't know. But some guards wander by, so they have to stop making out. So that certainly was one of the chapters of all time.
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
I need a snack, but I might come back and read more. I don't want to, but I also want to be done with this friggin' book. Alright, we're back. I have french fries in the air fryer. We're going to read some of this chapter. I skimmed a lot in the last chapter because it was so boring. It was just the thing you've read a million times. Maybe something will happen in this chapter. They're finally jogging at dawn, you know, doing military things. We jog in formation. Who taught them the formation and when? Trainers hitting the pavement, footsteps thudding in unison. So they're not even wearing boots, they're wearing sneakers. She's probably wearing her tank top, and her giant jugs are bouncing. She's like, who invented jogging? I'm like, ma'am, you are a farmer. You are probably in better shape than anyone here. Why are you acting like you're just like a pretty princess who just sits around all day? You're a farmer. A few others are like Lydia, set on joining intelligence. Oh, this is the first I'm hearing of it, that they get to go into different types of jobs. But I know a lot of them are like myself, eager to make it into a fieldwork unit, particularly elite. You're eager to make it into a fieldwork unit? Is it because you actually want to do your job of being a spy for the resistance? Or because now you've fully drunk the Kool-Aid and you just want to be a cool elite soldier? Yeah, it seems like she just wants to be a badass soldier now. She's fully forgotten that she's a rebel. She's like, high adrenaline, high clearance ops. I only wish I knew what the criteria were for making it into the Silver Elite. First of all, I thought you were all going to be Silver Elite. I thought that was like what this was, training for that. It's so unclear, their military structure. It's worse than Fourth Wing, and that's hard to do. And again, she's not thinking about this in terms of like, if I become an elite, I can share so much intelligence with the resistance. She legitimately just wants to be one of the elites so she can do cool, adrenaline-thumping ops.
Some people think Dauntless are crazy, which they kind of are.
She, of course, sees Hottie McHotpants, and we have to have a whole paragraph about how horny she is for him. My breasts remember the sensation of being crushed against his chest. Oh, are we boobing boobily? What are we doing here? This is a woman author, and she's writing like the breasts have sentience.
Why are you the way that you are?
Luckily, Cross's head swivels in her direction. I think if my head actually swiveled, I would hurt myself. Oh, hey, it's Guy from the beginning of the book, Jordan. I'd basically forgotten he existed, but he's back. He's one of the soldiers here at the base at the moment, I guess. Jordan is just here because he is going to go talk to the main character and be affectionate with her because she never told him that she wasn't interested. And doing so is going to make Cross all jealous-like. So now I guess their next drill is they have to go undercover, and so she's been given her secret identity. So she's here doing the undercover thing with Bryce, who I guess is one of the girls that the main character doesn't like. And Bryce is complaining about her cover, which I think might be a sex worker. But anyway, she picks out a really, really skimpy dress, Bryce does. And the main character's like, maybe she was right to complain about her cover. Then at the last minute, we don't find out what the main character's cover is or how she's dressing herself, because they're allowed to, like, wear whatever outfit as long as it fits their cover. But we don't know what that is, and we don't find out how she's dressing. We just smash cut to her having been reassigned, and now she's in a car. But I guess Cross is now her handler, of course. They're infiltrating a brothel. Finally, we find out what she's wearing after she's already entered the brothel, where she's supposed to infiltrate, I guess, and pretend to be looking for a job because, like, her cover would be getting a job here. I think the dress I chose for tonight's op is short, but not too short. Oh, well, thank you. The hem hovers just above my knees. It's sexy, but not too sexy. The V neckline shows only a hint of cleavage. A hint, huh? I thought you had enormous bazongas. Oh, and of course the dress is Dove Gray, because Dove is her, like, code name. She's carrying an evening bag, which she calls a slinky black thing. I have never heard a bag called Slinky.
It walks downstairs alone or in pairs and makes a slinkety sound.
She goes over and is instantly charming the bartender, who is a woman, so at least there's that. You know what would be cool? Is if she used her psychic abilities to her advantage here to have an even better chance. Like, what if she was able to psychically read people instead of everybody having a force field up in their mind? What if she was like, okay, let me figure out what this bartender would like to talk about and then talk about it with her by reading her mind? That would be a cool angle. If you've got a mind-reading character, let them use their mind-reading powers. So our character basically just gets everything that she wants. She succeeds so far in this scene, basically through no effort of her own. I guess she just clicked all the right dialogue choices with the bartender.
Remember how at the beginning of the book we were supposed to believe that she was all antisocial and adorkable and just, like, hated talking to people? Oh yeah, it's all fun and good to put that in at the beginning of the book when you're trying to make your main character more relatable, but when it actually comes to talking to strangers, she's got to be really good at it in practice, actually.
But then she clicks the wrong dialogue choice with the woman she's supposed to be meeting up with about getting a job at the brothel. And it looks like things are not going to work out, but then Cross walks in. That's the end of the chapter, and I hate it.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
Boy, oh boy. Something else. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter when I see you. Bye. Hello, it is several days later. I am back to read some of this thing. There are ferrets loose in this room, so that's fun. And my lighting is doing whatever at this point. I don't know. I don't even know. I think my camera's getting old. It was secondhand when I got it, so. But we're on chapter 31, and of course, Hot Man, make hot pants. I hate his name. Cross. Legitimately, every time I have to say that, I throw up a little bit in my mouth. But Cross is here. Please, in your imagination, pair every time I have to say his name with an eye roll. And of course, everything he does is the most perfect and the most sexy. I am so tired of these men who, like, never, ever experience, like, a moment of not looking amazing and not being so purposeful, so graceful in their movements, so dominating. It is the most boring thing. I don't know how, even if this was to my taste, which it is not, how do you read this over and over and over again and not just get bored? How do you read? It's like if somebody was force-feeding you your favorite food, and not even a well-made version of your favorite food, like manufactured by robots version of your favorite food. Even if you love it, you would eventually get sick of being force-fed it and want to try anything else. Yet Cross is so sexy and so intimidating. He walks into the bar. There's two people seated at a table. He walks over and they immediately vacate the table. He doesn't even have to say anything. It's just the sheer force of his presence.
He's elite. He's silver elite.
Oh look, it's Tandy. Hello, Tandy. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's me, Tandy. Look at my peats. Peats. Of course, after we get 2 paragraphs of how sexy this man is, we have to hear from the main character, he looks good. Just in case you somehow missed it from all of the rest of the description. Also, she's charmed by the fact that he just glowered 2 people out of their seats. That's attractive in a man. But then she finds out that Cross, imagine the eye roll, uses this facility. Like, he comes here to blow off steam sometimes, which of course will make the main character be like, he has sexy times with other women besides me, even though we haven't had sexy times yet. Also, by the way, our main character is, of course, a master of this type of, like, espionage. Like, she knew exactly when to weave in which information and everything. Because naturally, she'd just be good at that, having previously been a farmer. I'm sure Uncle Jimothy taught her all of these skills, in between teaching her everything else that he taught her.
Jim!
So, she gets the job, I guess. She's a sex worker now, or a pretend one. And, of course, Hottie McHotpants has, like, summoned her immediately to be his partner. And she's all pretending to be all shy and demure and like, oh, what could the captain want of me? But also, like, is he necessary in this entire situation? Because, like, she was doing fine. She was doing great on her own. He walked in and looked all weird and sexy and unnerving and chewed people out of their seats. And now he's summoning her, and, like, that seems more suspicious than anything. That she, like, literally just got the job, essentially. And he already is like, that one, I want to have sex with that one. That would make me super hecking suspicious, personally, if I was running this establishment. I'm about to lower into the chair next to him. I think it would be lower myself into the chair next to him. I've never heard of lower used on its own like that. Of course, this scene just exists, so she has to sit on his lap and pretend to flirt with him as a different person. Okay, why? What is that doing? Oh no, we have to. We have to for the assignments. No way to avoid it. She is, of course, so horny right now. Sitting on his lap, pretending. They're just role-playing in a bar. All the scene is they're role-playing in a bar, except for they have the extra level of, like, it's an assignment. It's an exercise. We are barely trying in this book to find contrived reasons for these 2 to have to flirt. Oh, but it turns out, don't worry, he just comes to this bar for the drinks. He doesn't actually partake in the sexy times. So thank goodness he's so pure. But also, if he frequents this place and he never asks for any of the girls, then wouldn't it be more suspicious that he showed up and asked for her when she literally just got here? But fortunately, nobody in this bar actually has 2 brain cells to rub together. Oh, she has golden eyes. Her eyes are beautiful and golden, and he's really close to them, and he's all impressed by how beautiful her eyes are. And she's like, people used to make fun of me for my beautiful eyes when I was a kid, because of course, like, nobody can have an attractive feature unless we also, like, say, oh, it was made fun of. Even though, like, beautiful eyes is sort of universally understood to be an attractive feature, but it has to be like, well, when I was a kid, I was made fun of for having such beautiful eyes. So apparently she went to school with a boy named Odin, and during mythology class, which is a class that they would definitely waste their time with in the districts or whatever, they were learning about witches, and he decided she was a witch because of her golden eyes. This only exists because the main character can't have, like, an attractive feature without it also having a sad backstory. Her eyes couldn't be, like, very average brown, but he finds them beautiful or something. No offense to people with brown eyes. I actually love brown eyes. I do think they're beautiful. But, like, they kind of have the stigma of being the most boring or whatever. But what if she had deep, dark brown eyes? And when they were kids, the other kids said she had muddy eyes or something. But he could stare into her eyes and be like, they're so beautiful. And she could be like, oh, they're just boring. But no, it has to be like, you have golden eyes. And people used to make fun of me for my golden eyes in mythology class. A real class that we totally had. By the way, she's not in character while she's talking about this. This is like honest conversation. Of course, we learn that she beat the shit out of her bullies because, of course she did. She's a main character. Nobody bullies a main character unless they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. Again, I'm reminded, because they're talking about family and stuff now, I'm reminded that the general has 3 sons. Cross, Roe, and Travis. Travis drew the short straw. Everybody else got cool guy names. cool guy names. I think their names are awful. And he got to be named Travis. They decide conversation time is over, and he just starts chewing on her neck. His lips travel over the column of my throat. I don't know if I've ever heard of a throat described as a column before. I don't know how I feel about it. It feels weird to me. So what was the point of this mission? Was it just to stay in this bar for any length of time? Because she didn't gain any information. She just came, got the job, sat on Cross's lap for an extended period of time, and now they've pretended to have a falling out, and she goes over and she's like, I'm sorry, I can't take this job. And she's gonna leave. Like, what? Wasn't she supposed to, like, weasel information out of someone here? Wasn't there, like, a packet of info that they were supposed to obtain? But she has not. What was this exercise?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Wait a minute. I don't even know what the purpose of this op was, if I did well or not. I thought the instructions were pretty clear at the beginning that you were supposed to go in, get information from this person. They had certain information that you were supposed to get out of them. Did I make that up? If your book is pointing out that there was no purpose, you've really fucked up. But of course, now she's got to go to his office for a debrief, and that is the end of that chapter. We're back to having no plot. Like, the plot showed up for a few minutes to try and get the main character to do something, anything, and then she just went back to business as usual, except for she's not pretending to suck anymore. Otherwise, it's the exact same plotless nonsense drifting along. Why? I thought that there would at least be Hunger Games or something, but there's nothing. There's nothing in this book. I hate it. Anyway, see for whatever boring bullshit is in the next chapter. And we're back. Different day, obviously. Different night, actually. It is, in fact, nighttime. We're going to try to get through a few of these chapters. Will anything happen? Your guess is as good as mine. Let's go. Chapter 32. So this chapter begins with a whole lecture from her about how paper is really rare. And she wishes she had a paper book. Why? Also, apparently they deforested their country so hard that that's why there's no paper. The last war killed all their trees, and I'm like, trees are pretty important. So, like, how's that working out for you? Cross comes into his office at last after she's done telling us all about the paper on his desk. And he's like, you did a great job. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. And I'm like, well, that's amazing, because apparently she was given no instruction. Is that to prepare her for all the jobs she'll have where she'll be given no instruction? Is that, like, common in this military? Again, these two are floundering around attempting to have chemistry, and it's all just, like, it's all the right words that characters are supposed to say, but again, this author doesn't understand how to make them good. So they're just there. He's like, oh, you're a dangerous woman when you wear those strappy heels and that little dress. And it's just like, I feel nothing. There's no actual heat between them. It's like smacking two Barbie dolls together. He growls out a noise. Well, presumably the noise is a growl. I don't know if you can growl out other sounds. And then it says, but it is quickly replaced by an arrogant smirk. So the noise is replaced by a smirk? Then it turns out that you remember Jordan, the guy who liked her, and the guy that she didn't like, but she wouldn't tell that. Apparently, Cross is so jealous that another guy likes, I almost called her Violet. She's not Violet, she's Ren. Likes not Violet, that he reassigned him far away for years. Never mind that there's another guy in her unit that flirts with her constantly and they've been caught in bed together, but that guy reassigned. Oh, she says, my heart never pounded this hard for anyone. Should I give it, I've never felt romantic love before you? I feel like that's coming. I'll give it a little bit longer, but I think we can safely put that in there. So they decide that their sizzling chemistry is too much to bear, and they just need to do it. They just need to do it right here, right now, and then maybe it'll be out of their system. How romantic. Your lead characters are like, let's just fuck each other and see if maybe it goes away. Oh, good. This author also likes to describe tongue kissing. I'm going to be skimming, because this is all just going to be the sexy times. I don't think we're getting anything valuable out of this that we don't already know. If you're wondering if this is every sex scene in every one of these books, yes, it's identical. I wouldn't be surprised if it's word for word. I could probably open Fourth Wing and find a sex scene, and it would be this. Also, something I've been meaning to bring up is that, like, the author of this book was like, I want Hunger Games, but for adults. First of all, I would argue that you can very much enjoy Hunger Games as an adult. all of the best YA books can also be enjoyed and understood even better by adults. Hunger Games is a really skillfully written series. But also, this author is of the impression that for adults just means add sex scenes to it. That's really pretty disappointing. Like, you don't even need a plot. Like, take the plot away for adults and put in sex scenes, because adults don't need anything else, I guess. It's really, honestly, extremely insulting. But, and we should be insulted by this. We should not just be like, oh yes, it's for adults because it removed everything else that makes a book good and put in sex scenes. I feel like there's only so many ways that you can describe this act, and I've read them all, and I'm incredibly bored by them. Oh, thank goodness. She finally has mentioned this. I was assuming she was on some kind of birth control since she seems to be very sexually active. But here, this far into the book, she mentions that it's cool that they've just done it. She's not worried about getting pregnant because, like, they're all on mandated state-sanctioned birth control, which, again, could be a horrifying implication that you could explore with this book, but instead the author's just using it as a way to be like, don't worry, the character won't get pregnant. But they do it for approximately 4 pages. I skimmed a lot because, yeah, I've read it before. And then she's feeling bad because, oh yeah, he's the general's son. She only remembers that after they've had, like, this mind-blowing sex. And she gets a passing grade on the assignment, which was apparently just make contact. Stupid. Anyway, that's the end of that chapter. It's just the sex chapter. And we're back at nighttime for chapter 33. We start again with a new assignment. That seems to be the thing now, is like every chapter is just going to start out with them doing some new exercise that ultimately ends up being very short-lived and uninteresting. But this time it's like Rescue Mission 2.0, where she's got to go in and rescue somebody who's pretending to be injured, and she has to be the injured party being rescued by her partner. Don't care. All she can think about is sexy McHot pants and what they did last night. I love his teeth biting into my shoulder as he finished. What else would he be biting you with? His gums? Of course it's his teeth biting into your shoulder. Apparently, for some reason, they're not allowed to carry the injured, quote-unquote injured member of their team. I don't know why. Liddy fails her first time because she's little and tiny and delicate. She couldn't possibly drag Ren. I mean, the weight of Ren's boobs alone is probably too much for this tiny little girl. Yeah, the exercise that we started the chapter with is over in basically a page and a little bit. So thank God we're just getting all of this action. We don't even really know how she drags Liddy. She fails to drag her all the way out, but like, how is she dragging her? I would personally do a shirt drag where you know, like grab like the back of their shirt and haul them by that. Oh, I see. Here's the mistake that Ren made. She's too compassionate. Her and Liddy are too compassionate. The point of the exercise, because we're copying Fourth Wing, and this place is supposed to be brutal sometimes, is you're supposed to decide to leave your partner behind. When are you supposed to disobey orders, and when are you supposed to follow them in this damn military school? They have to do this exercise again tomorrow for some reason, even though every other exercise they've only done one time, but they're doing it again. And she's got to learn the important lesson of leaving your friend behind, even though probably what she's going to do is just be so determined to get her ally out that she'll just do it, and she'll be the only one who does it. This time she's with Kane, so she's got to drag a man, although he would have a much better chance because he's, you know, bigger than her. So everybody else got the memo that you're supposed to abandon your partner. That's the whole drill. The whole drill is abandon your partner. The only one who fails is our main character because she will not leave a man behind, I guess. That's a part of her personality. Whatever. It's really just an excuse for her to have to go see the commander again because she's not doing what she's supposed to do. They're doing it again tomorrow? They do this exercise for 3 days. Everything else was a one-time thing. But apparently our main character has totally always been extremely loyal and cared so much about loyalty. That's always been her personality. Duh. So this is basically her Kobayashi Maru, a no-win scenario. And she's like, I don't believe in no-win scenarios. In real life, I wouldn't leave my partner. So I would love if she was a likable character that I was excited to follow. But if she was, I would love her to be like, instead of, you know, running in there and trying to haul her partner out, she runs in there and she disarms the quote-unquote bomb that's going to go off and kill them both. Have her do something clever like that to, you know, cheat her way out of the Kobayashi Maru like Kirk. We're trying to make this into like some big thing. Maybe I need to set my principles aside and compromise my sense of honor. Like, calm down, lady. So mostly they flirt with each other again, and they're both still obviously horny for each other, but we gotta have the will they won't they back in place of like, well, we said we were just gonna do it once and get it out of our system. She doesn't even have to do the moral conundrum because everything in this book is so lazy. That night she goes to her room and she looks at her score, and her score has been changed from fail to pass. So she didn't even have to like try to figure out her way out of this. And then the chapter ends with her being asleep, and then they get grabbed, they get got, and yanked out of their beds, and somebody injects her in the neck. So it was probably some kind of, like, I don't know, torture class. That's what they did in Fourth Wing. Cross off because Fourth Wing did it again. All right, I'll probably at least read one more chapter, and then probably go to bed. We'll see. Welcome back to nighttime. Oh, people are moving around in the house. Ignore the noises. Chapter 34. Also, can you hear the crickets? I don't know if you can, but there are crickets outside my window. Cheeping. So she wakes up and it's like super dark, and it reminds her of the Black Lands. And I'm like, are we ever going to do anything with this time that she spent in the place where it's always dark? What was the point of that? Yep, it's just interrogation class. They're here to resist interrogation. Again, just like Fourth Wing, they're thrown in with absolutely no instruction. No, here's some tactics for resisting. Here's some things that might happen. Just learn by doing, kids. Learn how to resist torture by doing. Apparently they're also in here with Ro, the bully guy, the half-brother of Howdy McHotpants. Apparently Ro was specially trained by their other brother. Normal name, Travis. He's gonna be really good at this, I guess. They weren't even given, like, code words that they have to try not to reveal or anything. He's just like, yeah, they'll pull you out every 4 hours and try to get you to reveal something about command. And it's like, such as? They don't have anything to reveal. So, like, what happens if they succumb to the torture?
Is it supposed to be stupid?
Apparently they waterboard them sometimes, so that's fun. I did notice that there were quite a few, like, time jumps in this. Like, as you can see, a lot of cuts. And they're all very short. So, once again, this author's interest is not in the things that, like, happen to her characters, the interesting things. It's all just, can we get an excuse to get her back into Hottie McHotpants' office? Oh, okay, of course. The information that they're supposed to not give away is the location of weapons caches, that they're only telling us now that she had to memorize the coordinates of them earlier this week. Don't do that. That's so lazy. To be like, yeah, I put my character into this scenario, and oh, also I forgot to mention that she had to memorize these coordinates earlier this week. That's lazy. If you don't figure this out in your plotting, if you're pantsing this, you go, oh, I need her to have memorized this. And you go and you put it in the book. You don't just say, oh yeah, and she did this earlier sometime. It doesn't matter. Nigel, be careful, buddy. It's so lazy. But then again, this whole book is so lazy, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. We are being given this retroactively. So actually, they've totally been trained what to do. We just didn't see any of it. But I guess she was taught this last week that she's supposed to say her name and her recruit number over and over again. Totally, 100% she was taught that. If you say so, that she totally was, it's like, yeah, Uncle Jim taught me to be a ninja, and I can just say that. Like, that's so lazy, and I hate it. You don't have to spend pages and pages showing us her getting this information. Just a paragraph before this is actually happening. Of course, our character has to take the moment to say, I'm not scared of the dark. Well, I should hope not, since you apparently grew up in the Black Lands, where everything was always pitch black all the time. Would have been real hard for you if you were scared of the dark. So the torture itself is not that bad. They occasionally get, like, slapped. The real torture part is them being locked in this cell over and over again with no food and water. Like, they're being tortured by not being allowed to have food and water. Although, if they start to fall asleep, sprinkler systems turn on. So I think you could really utilize this by pretending to fall asleep, waiting until the sprinklers turn on, and then having at least some water. By day 2, they are now being punched. We started with the slapping, we're on to the punching.
Wait, it's already slap o'clock.
So she says she's really, really thirsty, and she also says she's soaking wet from the sprinklers having just gone off. So take off your shirt, and ring it over your mouth. Nobody's gonna see you naked. It's pitch black in here. Our main character is not very clever. Like, at all. Our main character decides in this moment, because her companions are, like, weakened mentally, that this is a great time to invade their minds. It's fine if you invade the minds of people you don't like, but she invades Ivy's mind and finds out that Ivy had a sister named Delia who died of bone cancer. Only after she's done is she like, I feel a little bit guilty, I shouldn't have invaded her privacy. Well, yeah, that would have been something to think about before you were just like, great, my opportunity. Probably fortunately for her, when she tries to read Ro's mind, his barriers are still perfectly intact because he's probably got a sick, twisted brain. He's such a prickhole. At some point, our main character decides that rather than invading these people's minds, she's going to try to at least help out Ivy by talking to her and being like, hey, what's your home like, and stuff like that. Just lost power for a second, but fortunately both my camera and my audio have batteries. So we can do this in the dark, except for I can't see the page. It just started raining. We learned that in the Blacklands, fire doesn't work, so you can just never have light. Again, are we going to do anything with this? Like, what are we doing with the fact that she just lived in the Blacklands for years? Oh, Ro has mommy issues. All these boys, like, Zayden had mommy issues, so Cross and his brothers have also got to have mommy issues. Motherless behavior. Oh, now, like, at the very end of the chapter, the author's like, oh, yeah, by the way, my main character is totally smart, actually, because we don't see her do it. We're told about it, that after the fact. Again, this author loves to do that. At least I'm not completely dehydrated. Every time the sprinklers jolt me awake, I hurry up and tip my head back to try to capture some of the moisture in my mouth. Could we see her do that instead of just being told about it after the fact? Also, it'd be way smarter, since her clothing is always soaked, to use your clothing. Alright, well, that's the end of the chapter, and they've totally bonded during this experience, so maybe Ivy isn't a bully anymore. Who cares? Not me. Because it's all stupid. Alright, we're back for another chapter of this monstrosity. If you hear faint noises, you're not going crazy. I'm hoping that my mic doesn't pick it up, but my husband is watching TV in the other room, so if you hear distant whispering voices, that's Naruto. Chapter 35. Got done with torture class. Apparently that is a must-have. They also immediately feed these people, who, may I remind you, have been starved for, I believe, 4 days. All they've had is whatever water they can get from that's like dripping from the ceiling. And they give them a hearty meal of beef stew and potatoes. She says, I gorge, and then it doesn't say, and then I immediately vomit. Because that's what would happen. One time I got a really horrible tooth infection and could not eat solid foods for approximately that long. And then when I finally tried to eat solid foods again, even a little bit, immediately, like, came back up. So yeah, that's not just a myth. That's not just a thing that doesn't happen. That's like a true thing. And these people who are literally had nothing to eat for like 4 days are gorging on beef stew and potatoes, and they're fine. Okay. They are given several days off after torture class, to recover from the trauma of torture class. And the main character, of course, isn't like the other kids. She doesn't want to go have fun or enjoy herself. She wants to wander around like a lost soul, hoping that she'll bump into Hottie McHot Pants. She touches base with her token black friend back home, who's like, yeah, the military presence is still super strong here. I don't know why. Like, it's been a while. I don't know why the military presence is still super strong back in Word Z or wherever. So one thing we find out, her friends come back and they tell her what a lovely weekend they had or whatever, and somebody had a birthday party at their home, and we learn via this that even to have a gathering like a birthday party, you have to obtain a gathering permit. And that is just like brushed off as like a normal thing, and I'm like, there's so much about this like dystopian world that we could be like exploring or pushing back against, but we're not. It's just set dressing. It's all just there to be like, isn't my world so dystopian? But we're not going to explore any of it. But they're finally going to find out who made it into Silverblock. Gosh, I'm on pins and needles. Will our main character make it? Also, there's a lot of book left, so I don't know what we're doing for the rest of this, if she's, like, already going to be in. Maybe she won't get in right away and she'll have to do extra stuff. I don't know. What is the plot, though, still?
Like, what is the point? She's not spying. She's not getting information. She's not doing anything for the Resistance. She's just supposed to get into the Silver Elite now and do what there, we don't know. So she's in Silver Block. Other people just have to go home, but she got in. Good for her. Liddy got in, and Liddy is squealing like a schoolgirl because she is. Like, what is this military unit, man? Ooh, we find out that our main character has been shortlisted to become Silver Elite because she's just so awesome. Also, she's fucking the commander. I kind of feel like they probably shouldn't have had her have sex with the commander before this, because it does really seem like that's how she got in. But that's not important because we have to cut to another pit night, and our main character has nothing to wear, so we have to spend a length of time sorting that situation out. I would hate to miss out on the dress-up scene. Partway to the party, she decides, actually, I don't belong here, and she's like, I'm actually gonna leave, wearing her slinky red dress and her strappy heels, and let me guess, she's probably gonna run into Hottie McHotpants on the way. Oh, look at that. She did.
And you're always right.
So they find a quiet corner, and they're already engaging in their heavy petting. They don't get to the sexy times, though, because they are interrupted. But she is planning to go to his room later, probably. They get interrupted because Ro is calling from the pit, and he's like, hey, come fight me, bro. For some reason, the idea of these two pieces of meat fighting each other has the entire crowd silent. I imagine this is supposed to be tense. Cross immediately beats the shit out of Ro, but Ro just won't back down. I don't know what the point of this scene is. Like, was it crucial to the plot that we know that Cross can beat up his brother? Because, like, I feel like we could have inferred that Cross is the main male love interest, and those can beat anybody. God could come down and get into this pit and fight with the main male love interest, and of course, Cross would win. And then Cross, like, skulks away, but I'm sure she'll go hang out with him later. What a pointless chapter. Pull this chapter out of the book. You miss nothing. We read it. We certainly did. That was a thing that we did together. And we're back. I took a shower and obtained some M&Ms. So I just want to be done. I'm so ready to be done. Like, there's still so much book left, and I am so done. Chapter 36. One of the girls in this group is a Nepo baby, and we cannot stop being reminded of that. Like, constant references to her father who got her in here, and now apparently he's fully here. Just in case you were wondering if she got in here through nepotism. Yes. Our main character, though, got here the old-fashioned way, by being imprisoned and forced to be here, and by trying to fail until she got contacted by the rebel group that she's supposedly a part of but never thinks about, and they were like, hey, you should do this, and then she stopped trying to fail, and now she's in the shortlist for the Silver Elite. That's how you're supposed to do it. This is a way that people can use too many words. This author is the queen of using too many words, but you can avoid this in your own writing. You came to watch my final test, I hear her ask. You can just say she asks, because it is implied, as the characters are in the same room as each other, that the main character would be hearing the other character ask this question. So you don't need to say, I hear her ask. So there are 12 of them who have been shortlisted, and there are 6 slots in the Silver Elite, which now our main character wants to become one of, ostensibly because the rebels want her to, or she wants to because of the rebellion, but she does not care about that at all. All she cares about is Hottie McHotpants. For their final test, they're going to be sent into another room where there are 2 daggers. And what you do with those daggers is up to you, but if your opponent taps out, you win. I'm just curious if our main character is suddenly going to grow some brain cells and try to do something clever, or if we're going to treat this completely straight like we've treated everything else. Because there were so many opportunities for this character to do anything clever, and she never has. She's always looked at those opportunities and sprinted in the other direction. So we'll see if maybe this time they're like, do what you will with the daggers. And I'm like, okay, well, that leaves me a lot of options. Like, as there are a vent in the room that I can pry open and crawl out of, like, you're not being explicit. And so that implies that I'm supposed to be clever, but probably we'll just get a dagger fight.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right.
Again, he says, whoever's better will walk out of the room first. So that implies that I could literally get in by turning around and walking back out of the room the moment I get in there. He just said, the winner will walk out of the room first. He's giving it to you on a silver platter of like how to be clever and win this. And if they lock the door, use your dagger to pick the lock. So she has to face off against Bryce, who I think is another woman, because we can't have women fighting men, even in this co-ed warrior unit. Heaven forbid we teach this woman who's going to be an elite soldier how to fight men. That would be stupid. All she'll ever encounter when she goes out doing her elite soldiering is other women to fight. So in the room, they go to their room and it is completely empty except for there's a mirror. And again, my brain is working. I'm like, this is a puzzle. This is deeper than just go in there and get your opponent to tap out.
Get used to disappointment.
Well, also there's a camera mounted in the corner, so that's not nothing besides a mirror. But the other girl immediately does not have any brain cells. So she's like, I guess we have to fight. So she grabs one of the daggers on the floor and kicks the other one away. So at least she's smart enough to be like, I don't want my opponent to have a weapon. But like, I desperately want someone to be clever. I want these two girls to get into this room and be like, okay, let's look at what we have. Let's think about this. Is our only option really to kill each other? Oh, Bryce is the Nepo baby, so she's extra motivated because her father is watching. Wouldn't your father like it even more if you, like, did something cool and smart instead of just fighting each other? So they fight and they fight and they fight and they fight, but they both get in some good knocks, but eventually Bryce is on top of the main character and kicks her weapon away. Our main character finally decided that she wants something out of nowhere. This has not been established at all, but it says, I need this. I need it for Uncle Jim. Need it if I want my revenge against the people who killed him. Is that a thing that she's ever wanted? If I'm going to bring this entire organization down from the inside, that is nothing. That is, again, a thing that she has never wanted. But now she's like, this is what I'm fighting for, all of a sudden, in this scene, this far into the book. But that gives her the motivation to just turn the tide of the fight magically. The main character is just still begging for Bryce to tap out, but Bryce is really determined to win. She's stabbing Bryce in the thigh, and I'm like, why are we doing this? I'm so frustrated that we put these two people in this room with two knives and we say things to them like the first person to leave this room is the winner. And they automatically just go with the first and most obvious thing, which is to try and stab each other with knives. And it's like, oh my, we have failed to train this elite unit to use their brains at all ever. Why? They didn't even look behind the friggin' mirror. Come on. Yeah, she just killed Bryce. She accidentally sliced her artery when she stabbed her in the thigh, and now Bryce is dead, and that's the scene. Well, I guess we have an elite soldier on our hands. We've discovered that she can stab somebody. Wow, what an amazing final test. I'm just like, every time I hope for this book to do something, anything clever, it's just like, nope, this book is the literary equivalent of being hit in the face with a brick. A dirty brick. So, like, I think that we have maybe reached the bottom of these traditionally published copy-paste books. But I have to keep going. There's more somehow, so I guess we'll do that. And we're back. If you hear popping and noises in the background, the neighbors are setting off fireworks. It is August 16th, but we're still doing fireworks, I guess. Anyway, chapter 37. Our main character is very broken up that she had to kill Bryce, which if we had used our brains for 10 seconds, maybe you wouldn't need to do. She's weeping into her buddy Kane's arms about how she didn't mean to and blah, 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 because she's a good person. Whatever. She's a blank slate person. She only cares because main characters are supposed to not want to kill people. She locks eyes with Bryce's father, who, of course, is stereotypical bad dad, and is just like, gives her a nod, like, thanks for killing my kid, and then leaves. So the character has, like, no repercussions for having done this, except for that she feels bad. Kane gets dismissed, though, because it is Cross's turn to comfort our lead character. Is this going to be one of those, the girl is crying so they have sex about it scenes? I hate those. basically just like hands her over to a medical officer because she was injured, and she asked the medical officer if anyone else died, and the medical officer's like, no, everyone else tapped out. And I'm like, good. So no one else thought of doing anything except for fighting each other with knives. Improvisational thinking is not encouraged. We're having a whole mental breakdown, and I do not care. We didn't like this character that she had to kill, and I don't like our main character either. So the fact that she's having a freak out over having killed this girl doesn't mean anything to me. Now, having your lead character, depending on their personality, freak out the first time they kill someone is a good idea. I hate it when I have a story where a main character is like forced to kill and it's the first time they've done it, and they're fine with that. They don't internalize it at all. They don't think about it at all, good or bad. But like, I can't help but feel like this didn't need to happen if the characters had stopped and used their brains for 10 seconds. So I'm just having a really hard time feeling bad for this girl as she cries in the shower. Also, this is the same girl who used her psychic powers to make a bunch of people turn their guns on themselves, and she was going to make all of them pull the trigger if she had been able to. She psychically contacts the rebellion, and they're like, great job, and then they like just cut off communication. I don't know why we're supposed to hate the rebellion. I don't know who we're supposed to like, because I suspect we're not supposed to side with the highly controlling government who makes you get a permit to have a birthday party and watches your every move on cameras. I suspect we're not supposed to side with them, but the rebellion has been so like obnoxious and unhelpful that I don't think we're supposed to like them either. So like, who are we supposed to like? Our main character, she's her own rebellion, like nobody's a good guy. I think because like in the Hunger Games, like it turned out that some people in the rebellion weren't good people, that we have to do that now. Except for, it's just the whole rebellion is bad because they're adults. Like in these books, at my age, my fine age of almost 40, my only job would be to be dismissive and wrong all the time. To have the worst ideas, to be completely stuck in my ways, to tell the young people that they're not supposed to do things so that the young people can say, fuck you, grandma, and go do things. It's great. So her friend Liddy is not one of the elite. So we're apparently saying goodbye to her, but Kane is still here. They get their own quarters now instead of having to barracks together. She gets a whole little apartment with a bathroom and a bedroom and a cozy armchair. In the closet, there's civilian clothes and uniforms. She says, I'm no longer a recruit, but a soldier. There's no graduation ceremony. You're just like, you killed somebody, you're a soldier now. Good job. She, of course, gets a knock at her door, and who is it? Why, it's Hattie McHotpants, of course. One thing I'm entertained by in this book is like so many of these books try to give the male love interest something that they love about the woman besides the stereotypical things. So like in Fourth Wing, Xaden is obsessed with Violet's hair, and all she has to do is like let her hair down and he's immediately hard. But like, I love in this that it's just her boobs. He just likes her boobs. Like, he's a boob man. It's fully just as complicated as that. So she's wearing a tank top, of course, with no bra, and he's just staring at her breasts. He's come to give her a blowjob. It's behaving like every single sex scene that these books have. The first one, he did a hand job to get her warmed up, and then they went into the rest of it. And this time it's the blowjob. They all do that. Every single, like, so boring. Are we just copying each other's notes and not even bothering to change anything? The author is trying to do this thing where Cross is like a little bit controlling, a little bit domineering in the bedroom, but it's so tame that it's like a child's idea of what a like commanding, more dominant partner is like. My hands exploring his hard male flesh. Well, thank goodness we established that he has male flesh. I would hate to find out somehow. Like, what? What is that even? What are we doing here? She's just had her second fun time, and he's also enjoyed himself. And right afterward, they just start talking business. Oh God, I'm having Xaden flashbacks. She says, you let Anson into the elite, you realize he's a soulless psycho, right? Cross chuckles, well aware. Every time I see well aware now on the page, I have a trauma response because of Zayden. Cross says he moves like a shadow and kills with no remorse. So the guy who moves like a shadow and kills with no remorse got his opponent to tap out, but the main character had to kill her opponent. So now they're doing that thing from Fourth Wing, except for she's playing the part of Zayden, where she's like, all right, I really enjoy having sexy times with you, but it can't go further. It's just sex. So she says that there were these big cats in the Blacklands, and she admired them. And she talks about how she saw one move. And I'm like, how? You keep saying that the Blacklands, there's no light. Did you just have amazing night vision after you've been there for so long? I don't understand. And then he leaves, but first we have to find out that Ivy, one of the mean girls who likes Cross also, is rooming right next door to our main character. Oh no! College dorm hijinks in this dystopian military book. God, what a great time we're having. I love it so much. Oh, and the next chapter is long. All right, I'm probably not going to read that tonight then. I'm never going to get through this book. I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. This is how I die. I die here, reading this stupid book. It's been nice knowing y'all, but this is going to be it. This is how I go out. This thing.
Good news, everyone!
It's patron time. Adriana, Laura, Wanda, Cocotina, Clara, Lisa, Jen, Tex, Moon Island, Zenith, Ashley, Corey, Bunny, Nemo, Tactical Hotdog, Haley, History Nerd, Pixelizzy, Raya, Christina, Cameron, Lady Kragan, Jose, Lunar Muse, AJ, Marshy, Semi-Dark, GK Scout, Annika, Jen, Tina, Laknanga, SB Boots, Martha Baggins, July, Bird Anonymous, Sarah, Kat, 78 kilograms of shade, Veda, Ingrid, Roma, Haley, Sam, Kira, Mooney, Pudamancer, Kohikaro, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ, Mufflier, Celia, Neon MVM, Deborah, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Marween, Kit, Light Julie, Patrick, Callison, Vampire Antihero, Shelby, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, and Amanda. Thank you all again so much for being my patrons. You keep the lights on around here.